I heard some kind of music coming in, but welcome back everybody to the Roll the Bones podcast. We're doing something a little bit different. I'm joined tonight by Lewis Daniel. He was the interview of the week. Of course, I'm with Brother Cody. But we're gonna start doing this thing. So we're gonna do a little bit of a live Q&A with some of our guests as we do the release of the new interviews. Give you an opportunity to not have it not just me and Cody that connect with our guests, but also give you an opportunity yourselves. So I'm trying to figure out because where my camera sits because I rearranged some stuff. But first and foremost, thank you to all the moderators that showed up. I see Michelle, Yarn Maiden, my wife. I think I saw Kate in here. It's good to see everybody. I see True Fist Mike and a lot of the regulars were piling in. But first and foremost, I guess this is proper introductions. Cody, this is Lewis, my pseudo-adopted son. And yeah, Lewis, that was a really good interview, bro. And of course, the fuel that makes I two plugs we got to do off the gate. Archery 3. A friend of this platform, Tim, he's putting together an overdose awareness campaign. Of course, we're always going to support our family, and especially on a cause like that. We're going to share the link. We'll pin it to the top once it gets dropped in there. And if you want to donate, if you want to share it around, remember sharing is free. Also the fuel that makes the Roll the Bones possible and makes everything go around is the Pot So Signature Blend. You can go over to AnthonyArlottoofficial.com and buy yourself a fucking bottle. Unless you got a drinking problem, then you can go over and buy yourself South End Syndicate or invest in commercial real estate or buy some dope-ass Killing with Success merchandise. Also, this is good news because now we can say it publicly, So the Alaskan Avenger, of course, please somebody share Jason's link, AlaskanAvengerOfficial.com. You can stay up to date with everything. And if you need to stay up to date, absolutely, because Brother Cody's going to be featured up on there. Brother Cody sat down today. I believe it was this morning, right? With Jason?
Yeah. It was free. It was awesome, man. It was a really good interview and a really good experience.
Yeah, man. Also, go over and subscribe to One More Mission. If you haven't already, stay up to date with everything that Cody's working on. Cody's actually going to be flying out here in a few days with the whole family this time. He's not riding solo no more. He's coming all the way out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Lewis Daniel is a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of this platform. He's a member of our family. You're getting into the advocate work. We did a little bit of, we did your interview a week ago. Is there any takeaways? Or actually, Cody, if you want to fire off your first question, because I interviewed the bastard.
Sure.
Oh man, that's a good one. Because I was listening and I re-listened back to when you talked about the interaction with get the shootout when they were walking. You were there. You were there, right?
No, those were recounts of my brother and dad telling the story.
Okay, yeah. I was trying to remember that. I wasn't. I was waiting to ask this, but I was. How much do you think that really impacted or affected like things and how you perceive them? Because nearly losing somebody so close to you and your family, and you were pretty young, right? I remember you were rattling off tons of ages.
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't born
yet?
My
brother was 2, and my brother's 4 years older than me.
Okay, I missed that part. I don't know. That's why I was trying to make sure, but I thought that I thought you were all over the place. Oh yeah, you were all over. So I guess my first question just got botched right out the gate. But I guess what would be your biggest driver or first look into the advocate world where you want to get into helping people, right?
Kind of right now, it started to basically be just kind of getting a foothold in trying to stay consistent. So recently I've just been doing the reels on social media platforms and YouTube, trying to stay as consistent as possible. And it's mainly been because I've been going on a lot of daily walks through the park and everything like that.
Yeah.
So on those walks, whatever kind of topic comes into my mind at the time, I kind of touch on within the reels, whether it's a conversation I may have had with somebody outside where I live before going on my walk or throughout my day. If something that they said kind of stuck with me, like today's reel was about how I had a conversation with somebody here, and they were talking about how they don't really date because they have nothing to offer people.
On Lewis, just before, I don't want to cut you off, I just wanted to shout the my good friend Mike Faraci's in the chat. I love you, brother. Your episode's going to be white hot, and I know it's coming soon. I love you, buddy. Give my best to Frankie and Greg and all them, but love you, brother. But as you were saying, man.
Yeah, so I was talking to him, and he was talking about how he doesn't really date anybody, women or anything like that, because he doesn't go ahead and have anything to offer. He doesn't have a car, a place to take him back to, nothing like that. And then that's where I touched on in my reel, where it's like, okay, I felt the same way my majority of my adult life, and so I touched on how you still got to worry about the fact that you're coming into the picture. You have your personality to worry, you have your time to give, you have yourself to offer, like all that stuff. It's just like anything that happens throughout my day-to-day is kind of what I've been touching on and trying to like help people understand different topics and subjects that they may be themselves struggling with, that I may have a different perspective on because of my weird way of thinking. So that's where I started. But where I want to go from there is kind of still being figured out. But I know that as long as I stay consistent, then it will come with time. Like the discovery of what I want to do further will come with time.
And that might find you, more than anything, because here's my thing, and this is just me. Even though I'm a veteran, I know this sounds terrible, but like every vet's into veteran work, right? And it's not that I don't want to help vets. It's not that we don't need help, but at the same time, like it's kind of saturated. It's kind of overplayed. It's kind of BS. And I don't want to get caught in all that bureaucratic level of crap, right? So how can we affect real change in real people's lives in the moment? Yeah, and that's where me and Chris have sat back, with first responders, firefighters. I don't care if it was Betty Bopp that was walking down the road and seen a house on fire and she kicked in the door and saved the dog, the cat, and the daughter. Well, you know what? She should be helped. Say she had some medical bills pile up on her because she rescued the dog and the daughter and the cat. Well, because she's not a firefighter, she doesn't have insurance. Because she's a stay-at-home mom, she doesn't have that good insurance. So let's say she needs the help. Well, there's acts of service that can affect people, and they didn't even mean that. Like they were just being a good person. So similar to that, like, and I kind of guess that's the best way I could describe it, because the other day, me and Chris, I was talking on my way back. I flat spotted one of my aluminum rims, and it was $1,000 rim. And I'm just like freaking out because I'm like, I can't afford $1,000 rim, like I can't even afford $100 rim. But I found a lady on Facebook. I drove 3.5 hours to get brand new ones, basically for $400. And on my way back, one thing, my wife knows this. I never give money to homeless people. Never do I roll my window down. Never nothing. And Chris heard this whole exchange go down, right? And like, so I'm like, hey man, come here. And he's like, I was like, all I got's $2, dude. That's all the cash I got. And he's like, hey, that's cool. He's like, it's more than anybody else gives me. He's like, they're all mean to me or whatever. They're really rude. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry to hear that. And he turns and he looked me right in the face and he was like, have you ever been in this position? And I was like, well, I was like, nah, man. I was like, and he started talking about going to prison. And that's where I got to challenge his belief. And this is where I'm coming with this, right? So his belief is prison, homeless, worthless, all this, right? I'm stuck in the gang. I'm stuck in my lifestyle. And I was like, man, I did 5 years flat, just got out. I was like, I didn't just get out, but I got out, blah, blah, blah. And he looks at me and I was like, where'd you do time? And he was like, Delta, Colorado. I was like, oh, I was up in Sterling, 162179. And he was like, 132, blah, blah, blah. Like he rattled off his DOC number. I was like, see, you're 30,000 ahead. But as soon as I said that, like he looked at my expedition, he looked at my was $100,000 car when it was first bought, but I didn't pay that for it. But he looked at this expensive car. He looked at this dude driving and he was like, wait a minute, we're on the same playing field. The only thing he could have said is race, and he didn't, and he never even touched it. Like I could tell that dude just needed some positive advice, and more than anything, I wanted to give the dude a fucking hug. Like Chris knows, I was driving away. I was like, I wish I could have just gave that dude a hug, bro.
You probably would have if he wasn't on where he was positioned. You even said that. Like now, and it's like that's one of the biggest things I've learned from Jason. That's Travis Ritchie was, kind of presented that as, we got to put the ladder in the hole, climb down and sit in the shit with somebody, get, stay dirty. Like, I like to stay dirty. Like, I don't want people to approach me like that. Like, I'm better than you. Just be like, listen, I'm always approachable if you got a problem. I know Lewis, I know you're the same way, and I know Cody, you're absolutely the same way. Michelle, my beautiful sister Michelle, she had a question. Michelle is seriously like, this is what this community means to me. Michelle is somebody that I met over a year ago, and she's seriously one of the most positive and uplifting people I've ever met. But I'd be lost without her in my life. I'm very grateful. But she had asked Lewis, "What is your mission statement for your business?"
So my mission statement, I don't know how I would necessarily refine it to a complete, like, concise statement, but I do know my goal and what I'm trying to do is I want to be eventually either try to get into some sort of like legitimate advocacy work or become a therapist of some sort, because my entire life people have told me that they love talking to me, want me to do something where I can also help people like through their problems and their conversations and stuff and talk them off of a ledge, so to speak. So my goal with this has always been to give a space to where people can feel comfortable talking to somebody who may have a different perspective than they have on the same situations that we may have gone through, like similar situations or situations that they may have gone through that I don't know about, but it's giving them a non-biased third party that they can talk to that can help them through their crap, that may not know them, may not have any financial stake or anything within their problem, but can give them another perspective on what they're going through, regardless of what it is. It could be you're going through some problems, a death in the family, your girlfriend broke up with you, whatever it is. It's giving them that non-biased third party that they can talk to for free, 99, free 99. No part of it is anything that I'm looking to gain anything out of, but necessarily just wanting to talk to people, help people through their problems, and kind of give people a safe space where they can just have a conversation with somebody who may give them that like new way of looking at it, that they may take what I say to heart and it changes their life, or they may look at what I said as stupid. But either way, if they had the ability to have that conversation and have that sit down, then that's one person that they were able to tell it to that they might not have had anybody in their immediate circle that they could have told that to.
Michelle had added in, it says, yes, your voice and experience is your gift. And that plays into something that's been a recurring theme around here. Me and Jason have talked about this at length. And, I've talked about it with Cody and Michelle. It's for certain, is that, knowledge comes from books, but wisdom comes from life experience. And I'd rather talk to some, like, how are you going to connect? Lewis, we were talking about this the other day. How is somebody going to, if you're going into like to drug rehabilitation, how are you, unless you've been part of the drug game in some capacity, how are it, if you just never did drugs, never have a taste of addiction, have never been operating in the drug dealing game or something in relation to it, how are you going to advise and help people and guide people through the worst moment of their life? You can't just default back to, I read about this in chapter 9. Like, you have to be like, damn, like day 5 for me, I wanted to blow my fucking brains out. But I relied on journaling. I relied on, cognitive therapies. You have to be able to really connect with somebody. Your wisdom, your life experience is your greatest fucking tool in that. Like,
because there's a reason why some advocates and everything else, and most people speaking on issues, political or otherwise, whatever the case may be, is always somebody who had either crazy story to tell or had life experiences that affect them, or a reason why they went to towards the religious belief that they have. No person with a clean-cut image, a perfect upbringing, wealthy, and everything else. You don't see Elon Musk being an advocate, but he's changing the world with his sciences. So like, he never had most of the people trying to vie to help people are the people that want to like live by the philosophy that the philosophy that you want your kids to have a better life than you had growing up. It's kind of that philosophy, and the same thing as the advocacy world and everything else. You want to help people so they can have a better life than you lived through.
Well, like, all right, like Tim is a good example of this. I see him in the chat. Good to see you, brother. Tim or Jason, JD, Chloe, they use their tools. Cody, myself, you know what I mean? Like, me and him are on like the lower rung of that, just starting out. But the thing is like, we try to advise people on our failures to make them to stop, prevent them from following the same path. Like, I don't want my kids engaging in criminal activity and all that stuff, because I sacrificed a significant part of my soul to engage in that I can't get back. I can heal it and restore it. And Cody's teaching me that, and advising me that manner. But the thing is, I don't want that path for my kids. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't, if they were doing all this fucking stupid shit, if I never lived that life, I would not be equipped to advise them like how to navigate away from it. But our failures, like me and Brian have talked about this, Cody have talked about it, like our failures is how you connect to make people, either you give them, hey man, I fucked up on this. If you're parading around like, look what I'm doing, you're an arrogant jerk off. Like, but if you want to make significant change in people, number one, approach them at their level. Approach them in a relatable and respectful manner. Do not be a cocksucker. Do not try to make them feel this big, like you're talking to them from an ivory tower. You come down to their level and be like, look, bro, this is the way up. If they want to follow you, that's great. If they don't, we can't drown with them. But the other thing is do not get in their face and be like, I'm super successful and this is why. You say, hey man, if you want to walk this path, this is how I fucked up. This would you should watch out for. And that's it.
I sorry to cut you off. I totally agree with you. And like part of I guess my way of like looking at this is like, if I'm sitting down with a guy or gal that's talking to me about SA trauma from when they're young, right? I've never been through that. So the best tool we have is to listen, because ultimately I understand that the physical trauma is there, but ultimately there's a different trauma that exists inside of the addict, that exists inside of the victim of anything, right? A drive-by shooting, a tragic fire, anything, you name it, especially when they're kids. Most people go back to having a core issue when they were a kid. Me, it was when my dad stuffed a rifle in my mouth and he said, kill yourself instead of playing next to the road. That's ridiculous. But, at the same time, at that moment, I lost all my self-worth. So just like a victim is, they don't have the value in what, people are just taking this from me. People are hurting me physically and they're abusing me physically. And ultimately, they have no self-worth. They have no value. They have no love. There's nothing, they're like similar core issues, but they're just how we got to them are a little different. So I found that really listening is the best key, because you can find that what it really is that's bothering them. Because I don't want to say, like, obviously the physical trauma portion of what happened is a big part, but the mental, where it really stuck and hung up in there, is when they were a helpless little 5-year-old or 6-year-old, human being, and their perspective on the world is, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not worth it, nobody loves me, fuck it, you know what I mean? Like, and they get stuck right there, and no matter what, they seem to, and if you really think about it yourself, when you have a bad moment, you do the same exact thing. You turn into that same little boy that whatever, it could have been your dog got ran over. It doesn't matter what it is. That moment from when you were a kid, that first traumatic thing that ever kind of, as Jason described it, and I fucking loved it. If you took the pane of glass, put it on the ground, and dropped a rock on it, and every time you drop a rock, it's going to break differently, and it's going to break in worse, or sometimes more, and sometimes you're just going to impact a part that's already dust. Like, okay, well, that didn't help nothing. We're not getting any closer to putting that back together because I just did it again. But, I think that our best weapon is honestly to listen, because a lot of people, they don't listen anymore. They listen to talk. They're sitting there, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like their mouth is moving as you're talking. And a lot of people, you can see them do it. You know what I mean? They're not saying anything, but you can tell they're not even listening to what you're saying. And that's when they don't feel connected. And that's when they're waiting for you to say, I'm bigger. Look at me. I did this. I read in a book one time, and sometimes even saying like, I can't relate, but I'm here for you. It may be hard, but it's at least honest.
Do you find, like, it's a good point. Like, I know, like Lewis, you're a very creative person. You're do you find, like, I was thinking about it because I see yarn. Everybody here especially in our family, our happy little corner of the internet, has some kind of creative element, whether that's Cody and Kate in the merchandise business, and me in the editing stuff, or yarn creating their thing. Do you find that when you're creating something or editing something, is it therapeutic for you?
In a way, yes, because it's the same kind of outlet, as I always say, for my nail business and stuff like that, to where a lot of times when people ask me why do I do nails and stuff like that, I always tell them it's because I found that it's the only art form, because I come from a family where all the guys in my family are very artistic and like can draw, paint, whatever the case may be. My dad was a really good artist, and I can draw, not super well, but I can draw, but it never had that artistic talent. It never came over to me. So when I find anything that I can actually vibe with artistically and that I can actually do, it's almost gives me an outlet to where I can finally express myself creatively that I didn't know that I had before. So nail art is the one thing that I can do that's super creative, that I actually am good at and found that I'm good with. And so I use that as kind of like Yarn was saying in the chat about like meditation. And so I use it as like a thing to express and kind of like just clear my brain, because whether it's doing nails or making some freestyle music and stuff like that, it's all just an outlet to just get my thoughts out there or get like an image out of my brain that I have. So if I have a nail idea, then I do on some nails, then it's that if all I could think about that day was that idea, then at least I'm doing it and getting that time to, like, whether it takes me 5 to 10 hours to do those nails, I'm still sitting here and disconnecting from technology while I'm just doing it.
Yeah, and all right, I'm going to apply that same question, Cody, because you spent a lot of time, you've been learning the editing stuff, but like, what was your focus when you were getting yourself straightened out, and or when you're having a bad day mentally, what is your method of like getting the fucked up shit out of your head, and to like, what is your method of release? You know what I mean?
My kids, man. And it's, sometimes that's hard too, because you're going crazy, but like, I try to interact with them as much as possible. And then like, going in and doing editing or video. And then also, that comes out in a form of prayer, meditation. I go back to the Bible, or I go back to God, and I'm like, listen, like, this is not working out. Like, whatever I'm wrestling with right now is not comfortable to me. It's something I struggle with, or however you want to put that. And again, and that's really where, like, I always, and you've heard me tell people this all the time, when you don't like something about somebody else, or something bothers you about somebody that they're doing, other than like, obviously, like child predators and stuff like that, but you don't like something about those people because it's something about you that you don't like, right? So when you start to really wrestle with certain things, you get really deep and philosophical, and you're like, then you start beating yourself up, but you don't act like that, right? You hide that part about you. You just hate that part about you, and nobody even sees it. And I try to make sure I take it back. I get into scripture, and I really figure out how I can express this positively by exposing myself to the internet, right? Like, I have realized through working with you, Chris, my wife has told me for years, you need to make videos, you need to do this. And dude, day 166 has been one of the biggest accomplishments of my life, of just making a video every day and making sure it's there. Yes, it's the same damn content, but it's the behavior. And like you said, I did exactly what you said. I went back and looked at one, and I looked at every one of them. And every single one, you can tell a growth change. And I can definitely see it in myself. But really exposing my pain or something that bothers me, because like Lewis said, we're all dealing with something different, but we're all dealing with the same shit at the same time. I might not be dealing with money struggles like somebody else, and Elon might not be dealing with money struggles, but he still don't like the damn world the way it is. He's trying to change it. You know what I mean? Like, we all have these common problems that we deal with, whether they're large and small. And how can we change our perspective to look at this thing accordingly so that it does not negatively affect us anymore for a day or another week or another month? And how can we make a change positively in not only my life, but somebody else's life today?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, we have a question that does apply kind of to what we're all talking about, but Tim asks, my question is though, do you disconnect or do you give yourself grace and time to think and process it in that time? That's a good question, because distraction, like I still use it as to a degree, but I used to use something I've worked on in therapy is, but I would work a lot of times, and now working and overworking myself. Yeah, it's productive, but that was my form of distraction from the other stuff I would have. So I had no problem working, 90 hours, 100 hours a week. Because that was 100 hours that I didn't have to fucking think about, how loud it was in my head. You know what I mean? But what about you two? We'll start with you, Lewis.
I use it as a form of disconnecting, but it's not disassociating. So I never disassociate from the problems. But I never also dwell on the problems. So when I'm disconnecting and doing something productive, whether it's making music, making a short reel or something, or doing a couple hours of doing some sets of nails, it's always a space that I use to accomplish something like you're saying about being productive and using that productivity to separate myself from the issues. But also, I don't use that time to dwell on the problems that are happening, but to clear my mind and try to think of other stuff. So when I get out of that space and I do connect, like come back into the reality of everything, that's no longer a thing like weighing down my mental right at that state of time. So if I'm feeling depressed or something, if going on that walk is going to make me forget about that depression, then I don't immediately come back and think, oh, now I'm back into the depressive state. I go ahead and understand that on that walk, I'm going to figure things out. And then when I come back, we already figured it out. Mm-hmm. So once I touch back to Earth and I'm done in space, then we left all the problems out in space.
Space junk. Man, that's loaded. I used to use work as a form of success, right? Like that was how my most positive mentor provided. That's all he did. It was he provided and made sure the family was well taken care of. He never had to tell us he loved us because we knew he loved us, because he made sure everybody had a house. He made sure my aunt had a house. He made sure my parents had a job and a house. He made sure that we were taken care of. And he would just sit there and watch us. My grandpa would just sit there. The only time he would talk to me is when we were on road trips. And I'm pretty sure he told me the same 15 stories about 1,000 times each. But I caught myself working hundreds of hours, piling the money in. But all I was doing was getting further and further away from my wife, and further away from my kids, and even further away from my Lord, because I didn't have time for any of that. Right. And that's where life grabbed me by the nutsack and hung me out to dry. And it said, listen, I've done this once, Cody. I've put you in prison, and apparently you didn't learn something there. So I'm going to teach you another hard way and give you a terminal illness. So let's see if you can figure out what you need to learn out of this. And I think part of the biggest thing I really learned out of this is that, like, I can't focus or use work certain things. I can't do that because I will over focus. I over penetrate. And next thing you know, I'm too far. I'm not enjoying the smiles on my kids' faces. My wife is an amazing wife, and she videoed everything every day. I mean, I would get 1,000 pictures, 1,000 videos. And when I got home, there was a video, there was a picture for everything she was telling me about. But is that raising your kid? Does that build security? Does that build comfort? Does that build love? Now they can just run out here and see me. Or just like when right before we came on, I went and mowed my neighbor's yard because they're selling it. They were in the backyard running around. I was mowing the front yard and the backyard. Yes, is it a pain in the butt some days? Absolutely. But you know what? My kids are out there watching two things happen. they're watching daddy overcome what's hard, what one of the toughest things in life, and that's being sick. And the second thing they're watching is me provide and how I provide, that it's an honest day's living. And no matter how you do it, you got to make that honest day's living. And that's important to me, right? So I've had to rear back and make sure I control what I disconnect into, because I will overly disconnect. I have a very bad habit of, and one thing Kate had to learn about me when we got together is I'm fine in a very chaotic world. But when I'm hurt or when something goes wrong, or like if me and her say, for instance, we get in a bad fight about something, I end up in the garage and I would start making cups. Or here's a funny secret. I probably would be a really good nail esthetician, and I'd probably love doing nails if I ever gave it a chance, because I just like that hyper focused art with precision, right? Like that's what I like. But I like to focus on one thing and control one thing. That's the only way I can get my life back under control. And people are over there, or she would be like, I want to talk to you about what's going on. And I'm like, nope, I'm stuck, because I'm trying to gain my self-control back. I'm trying to get the world back under control so that I don't flip out. You know what I mean? So I don't yell at my wife. I don't scare my children. I don't scare my wife. Because there's one thing that she has always told the truth about, is there is Cody, and then there's the demon she didn't ever meet. And I never want her to see that loose end person, because it would scare her, and it would scare anybody. Right.
And that's, like what you were saying there, when Kayla, my kids never had to experience that side of me, but my wife did. You know what I mean? She knew the ugliness of, who I was, and but she didn't judge me for it. She tried to help me, I was just lost, and she helped me find my way out of it. But there was a very good question I seen. Freedom asks, was there a single conversation, person, or moment where you realized your life was going to head heading in a different direction? It's a good question, interesting question. But
is that for all of us, or just Luis?
I'm assuming it's for Lewis, but we could all apply it, but we'll start with Lewis. Yeah. So I'll say it one more time. Was there a single conversation, person, or moment where you realized your life was heading in a different direction?
Yes. So the biggest one was after all of the stuff that was talked about in the interview episode, I got into DCF. That later on that year, I talked a little bit about that towards the ending, but didn't really touch on it. And I was in DCF from the beginning of 2013 till the end of middle of 2014. No, 15, somewhere around there. But I was in it basically for I was in DCF for 2 whole years, from when I turned 15, 16 till when I was like 18, because I aged out the system. So I was like 18, 19, aged out of DCF.
What's the acronym? What does that mean for people that don't know? Because obviously we all have different.
Department of Child and Family Services, DCF.
It's CPS out here. I figured. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So they went ahead and I was in there, and then I aged out of the system eventually. But what happened is the conversation that kind of put me down the path of like knowing this stuff was going to be hard was when I was graduating from high school. I graduated on time. I had good grades and everything. I asked them about going to college and if they would pay for it and everything like that. And I told them I wanted to go to school for culinary, I believe it was at the time. And when they went to go ahead and check for the school and everything like that, they said that, all right, we talked to the higher ups basically in the system, and they said, we're not paying for you to go to school. I said, why are you not paying for me to go to school? Why is that? They said, because on your track record of schooling, it says that you basically were skipping a lot, which I never skipped a day in my life. It was a whole entire mix-up of the teachers always constantly making me, marking me absent, because I was always the quiet kid. So they would always mark me absent, and just I wouldn't pay attention to when they were doing roll calls and stuff. So they said your track record shows that you're always skipping, and your first 2 years of high school, which were the years in which I was not doing anything, and also one of the years is when my dad died. They said those 2 first years, 9th and 10th grade, were poor and showed that you didn't care about your grades or nothing. So they're using that basically as all to compile that we don't think that you're going to actually go to college and try to succeed. So we're not paying for your schooling because they're cracking down on sending people to school. So since we're not going to pay for your school, we have 2 options. You can either get a job or we're kicking your ass to the street.
Jesus Christ.
Basically.
Because you aged out.
Yeah, because I was already 18 or turning 18 at the time. So then I said, all right. So then I got a job working with my brother at the time, and it was in South Windsor, but I couldn't. It was a package handler at FedEx, and I couldn't sustain going to the job, so I only worked there for a week and a half. And then when I was done, my DCF worker came to me, and he's like, "Oh, are you done playing around?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he said, well, you knew that you didn't have reliable transportation to the job, so you shouldn't have even got that job in the first place." And then he basically looked at it as I just got that job to shut him up. And then he said, and basically gave me a timeline and said, if you don't get a job by this time, then we're having a hearing to kick you out. Because he said the only way you're staying in is if you get a job, we'll help you get an apartment and then set you off on your own. But if you don't get a job and if you refuse to go to therapy, then there's nothing we can do for you. We're kicking you out. So then I basically at that point said, screw you, and never showed back up to my foster home.
And see, that doesn't make sense, right? Because like all you're doing is you're pretty much destining somebody to be a criminal at that point. Like they're gonna do what they do or have to do to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the people in that system are already evolved or involved in criminal lifestyles, whether it's their parents were criminals and drug dealers or whatever that may be, right? So they're gonna default to some dumb shit. And I'm glad you didn't. You know, obviously you probably had your moments, and in long run you haven't defaulted to the dumb shit.
Well, we've done stupid stuff over time, so I'm not gonna say I didn't have fits of doing hooliganery, but at the same time, that set me down a path of being chronically homeless, though.
Right,
and like
hooliganery,
out surfing back and forth and things. So
you say that. What is the hardest part about being homeless?
The hardest part was for any situation, if you're not somebody who's solely reliant on like drugs and stuff like that in a homeless situation, is coping with the fact that you may not eat. There's just certain days you just may not get food in your system was one of the hardest things to eventually cope with. And 2, understanding that when you get to a certain point, human/animal instinct will kick in, and you may do stuff that you morally would not do in any other situation, but in that moment you may find yourself doing so, like eating out of the trash can, or like somebody throws away, one of your friends throws away half a burger and you sneak it later on when they're not looking, because you know you didn't eat for like 2-3 days. So like stuff that you in a perfect society you wouldn't ever, you look at somebody and scoff at them for doing, but then you find yourself doing because you're in a desperate strait.
And then you feel, obviously you judge yourself, I'm guessing, because regardless if you need to survive or not, that memory of what you had to do to survive, your self-judgment kicks in, and then it's just a big ugly mess in there.
Mm-hmm. So then it's like, people who know me personally know that even in my situations where I say I was homeless, I still had a roof over my head because people took me in and everything like that. But I never had any financial stability, and I never had anybody paying for any of my stuff. I was couch surfing, living at my ex's house at the time, moving back and forth between my friend's house, other friends' houses that I would hang out with and everything like that. But I never had anybody basically feeding me. I never had anybody supporting me financially, just giving a roof over my head and saying, you're on your own for the rest of it. And then so through all that time, that still meant that even though I had a roof over my head, I was still struggling, finding out how I was going to eat. At the time, I was smoking cigarettes and weed. So finding out how I'm going to smoke weed, how I'm going to smoke cigarettes, how I'm going to do stuff. So most of the time, I'd go to the soup kitchen down the street and get one meal, and that'd be my meal for the day. And then I'd go out, do my entire day's worth of trying to keep myself busy until the next day where I go back to the soup kitchen and eat again. So just because you have a roof over your head doesn't mean you're not still struggling and going through it just the same as somebody who doesn't have a roof over their head and is struggling and homeless. So in those situations, it may have seemed like I wasn't going through it, but mentally and financially and everything else, it was a big undertaking that caused scenarios where I'm like, looking back now, I'm not proud of, like robbing stealing stuff from cars, doing other stuff, like stuff at the time that would have been very much illegal. But looking back now and saying, okay, well, those things were done in a state of trying to
survive.
fit in with the crowd that I was hanging out with at the time, and just saying, screw it, I'm just going to go with the flow, because if I don't, then what am I going back home to? Nothing.
Tim says, in my active addiction, I literally did start to like how much the minimum I needed for food. Hold on, let me just make sure I read that right. In my active addiction, I literally did start like how much the minimum of food I need, how much the minimum I need for food. This is that way so I can make sure my addictions were fed. Yeah, that's a very real statement. I had a few people in my life that were at that point, really bad. And like, if they had, 15, $20, they would basically make sure that 15, they say they had a 20, they would make sure 15 went to whatever. And then they'd be trying to, you better hope it was the 5 for $5 beef and cheddars at Arby's. That's where they would basically, I mean, not to laugh about it, but I mean, that's how fucking crazy it was.
Yeah.
That it was, it was a fuck situation. And I get that shit.
I've been there too, where a pack of cigarettes took priority over food.
And you see, like, veterans, like I've talked to quite a bit of veterans, that these guys make some of them make like $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and they prefer to be homeless because it's less problems. And it's such a fucked up world, right? Like, they're broke within like 3 days because they're generally giving food and money to their friends that they really care about that are on the streets with them. And maybe not 3 days, but they still make a ton of money for being on the streets, but they don't want the responsibility of life because they would rather be stuck in survival mode and fear for the worst than to worry about paying a rent check every month. It's very debilitating, and something I'll never be, I hope to never have to understand. Just like I told that guy on the corner, like, God, I hope I'm never homeless, because that means I got 4 kids and a wife that's homeless. Like, that's like, last year we almost lost our house to foreclosure because of an organization set us up to do the wrong thing, and I had to figure it out. But like, bro, I laid in bed night after night after night just crying. Like, my wife had no idea how much stress I was putting myself under, and like, it ultimately took a huge toll on my health, because like I would just stare at the TV and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, it's not just me. Like, if I had to go live on the streets, I'm sure I could survive. I've survived plenty of things in my life, right? Like, it would not be something I want to do. Would I be comfortable doing it? No, but could I survive it? Most likely. And what the impacts that follow, I can only imagine that sometimes you still, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but do you sometimes still deal with flashbacks of like, oh, I need to eat more now, or I need to like pack rat food and make sure I'm safe, or however you put that?
The adverse, kind of like the opposite, in which kind of like what the guy was talking about in the chat with like the bare minimum. There's a lot of times where I still find myself going into that survival mode of understanding that, well, I've survived off of less, so I can stretch my cash to do other stuff, because I know that I've survived and struggled way more than now. So if I go, let's say 5 days without eating, it may negatively impact me now because I'm on the older side, so my body's less prone to being able to bounce back from that stuff. But if I'm eating 5 days worth of ramen because I spent my money on something else that I wanted, then it's more of a case of a lot of the time jump back into that negative mindset of like, well, I can handle it. And then once the 5 days come up, I'm there like thinking, oh, I should have listened to myself and said, no, that was a bad thing. So instead of like jumping back into survival mode of like eating as much as possible as the adverse, where I jump back into the survival mode of thinking, oh, if I have to pay off this bill, I'd rather pay off all my bills and get all my bills paid for and go through that struggle than worry about that bill still looming over my head. So I'll choose that over food or something. And then it only kicks back in later on that I should have never made that decision in the long run. But I thought, you know what, I got it like that because I've survived in worse situations.
I think the people take everything we have for granted. Like my mom worked really hard to make sure that me and my brother ate. That was, that's one thing I'll say 100%, because, when my dad decided to go take his sabbatical, he left my mom to figure it out. And boy, everybody, with the way things are going, with the cost of living being as brutal as it is, this is a bad afternoon away from being in that situation. Don't take your like. I've always maintained I put a lot of pressure and a lot of shit on myself all the time, so that way I'm always prepared. That I always look at it as that could be my tomorrow. You know what I mean? And but I'm very grateful. Like I think that's the other thing too is people should be more grateful of the situations they do have. Like even the comfort of being, no matter how tough it is, if you can default at the end of the night, I don't give a fuck what your financial situation is, even if you're on the lower tier. If you can default to close your night in a warm bed with 4 fucking walls, or a roof and a floor around you, you're already ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Like there are people, like I think about that a lot. Like me and Cody actually talked about this like 2 weeks ago, like a week ago or whatever. There's a lot of people that they aren't going to get that luxury. Like around here, like Lewis, our winters are so brutal that this past winter was so bad that there are people that will commit crime just to go to jail so they can be warm at night. You know what I mean? Just so they're guaranteed 3 meals. The fact that that's like you've hit the point that you would choose prison.
The crazy part is they know what a 3-month misdemeanor crime is, and they commit it to a T.
Yeah, they're not hurting people, but they'll purposely keep fucking up and keep fucking up. It's like, so to them, when you sentence them to fucking prison, you're sentencing them to like, damn, bro, 6 months. Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, you just sent them motherfuckers to sandals, bro. Like in their world. But that's, the thing is there's a lot of those organizations that just do not step in and do the things that they're supposed to be doing. And that's why, and I know Lewis, you'll ride with us on it. Like, we're gonna do more community engagement that way. I don't want to just raise simply just money and just give it to one organization. I want to be very hands-on, and I want to make sure that what we are doing is going to what it is. So
because it's like his story about how he helped a homeless person and got an amazing connection out of it. It's like that was one instance, but that could have also been an instance of giving a homeless person, let's say $3, and somehow they find a way to stretch those $3 into hard drugs. Yeah. So it's good to want to see the actual effects, because you'll know you're helping if you see the results of that help. And you don't have to you're not looking for validation in seeing the help happen. You're looking for proof in the results of sort of like not seeking validation, but seeking to know that you're actually making a difference, because you don't want to keep throwing your services into the air and hoping it sticks. You want to see it actually hit the wall, and whether it sticks or not, you still want to see it hit the wall to make sure that you're throwing it in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And it plays into that saying, like I like to try to show people a way to take care. I don't want, remember Tom?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tom is a good example. Like, just for context, Tom was a homeless guy that worked, that hung around where me and Lewis used to work.
Tent in the woods, all that.
Yeah. And he had options, and like this, like the real thing, because we've had caseworkers come in looking for him, see if he's here. He had options to be put up in all these different components, but he chose to live on the streets, which I don't understand, like why. But you have all these people that I'd rather teach somebody how to make money, teach somebody how to make develop or push themselves forward, but I will refuse. I just blatantly refuse to become that person that I don't want to feel responsible that I have to take care of you the rest of your fucking life just because you chose to get here. Like, now I don't know how Tom got there, but I remember one time he came into the store, and he's like, oh man, it was cold. We used to comp him coffee all the time, whatever. But he had asked for food. I think you might have been working with me. Like, I bought him the thing. He heated it up, ate dinner in there, and then he came back the next day to Tom comes back the next day. He's like, "Oh, can I get dinner again?" And so I was like, "This is the last time, bro. Like, I'm not like whatever." Bought him the food, and then he came back a third day, and I was like, "I'm sorry." I remember telling him, I was like, "I'm starting to understand those signs that say don't feed the wildlife." You know what I mean? Like, but that was a dick statement to say, but Tom had things there in place for him to show him how to be like he could have got a startup thing in an apartment that with 1,500 a month in to cover his expenses, food, all that shit.
Especially here, there's programs that say that if you're chronically homeless for a certain amount of years and you have proof to say you're chronically homeless for a certain amount of years, then the state will basically cover everything and you could live for free. Like there's certain programs that would put you up.
How do they determine that? I could walk in there right now and say that I've been homeless for 8 years. Because how are they gonna prove that I was homeless?
Everybody has a paper trail, so usually the homeless have zero paper trail, and like
what's a paper trail though for somebody that's been living on the street?
Lack thereof.
Yeah, the lack thereof.
But I know guys that are living on the fucking street that have mailing addresses to certain spots. There was one guy that was getting his mail delivered to a barbershop down the road. Like, so that's a paper trail. So you're going to say that, oh, well, you're living in a barbershop. You know what I mean?
Like there was one guy that used to live here when I first got living here at the YMCA. There was one guy who lived a couple of doors down from me, and he was chronically homeless for such a large amount of time that basically they put him into a program eventually because I think he was living in the woods or something in a tent. And they put him into a program that paid for him to live here for free. So he didn't have to live here. He also got food stamps and everything. And so he didn't have to pay any money to live here. And then eventually they transferred him outside of here and gave him his own apartment.
Yeah.
Zero cost.
I just I think I think Jason said it the best when I don't have a problem. It's laziness that I have an issue with because me and him were talking about it in our first interview. It's like I have contempt for, and he helped me realize my contempt for certain things is for just pure laziness. Like I'm here to me and Cody and you and us. We're here to advise you to try to help raise awareness of this and help generalize things in certain ways. There's cases that we'll step in on a case-to-case basis, but I get bombarded daily. But ever since we did the summer camp thing, I get bombarded daily now with people sending me GoFundMes, people sending me this thing. Like a prime example was that kid Roadrunner demanded that we fund his GoFundMe while simultaneously abusing our chat or our community. This is unacceptable behavior. I don't know. I don't even know what the point I'm trying to make in that is, but.
And well, that's hard, but right, because I know where you're kind of at with this. We've talked about it, right? What's hard is because we can't help everybody, and we would. Me and Chris, and I speak for Luis too. I promise you, if each one of us had infinite funds, we'd fucking help everyone. We may not help you to the level you want, but we would make sure you are helped in some way, form, or fashion, healthily, safely, and properly. But this dude's GoFundMe. It is not. The problem with that is your bills are on that guy. They're not on you. So I don't understand how bills of you getting hit by a kid who had insurance or not, they still go on that person. It's not his bills. And we know that because that's just the way the legal system works, right? But at the same time, and I'll use myself as an example. I have an extremely hard time in admitting I need help, right? I will make sure that this summer, for example, Chris knows he can attest to this. I don't have the money to be sending kids to camp. I looked at my wife and I said, "Hey, I told kid we're sending into camp," and she's like, "Well, we'll figure it out, babe." She's like, "I'll try to get more hours from my job." I was like, "I'll try to find some more, side jobs, landscaping. Maybe I can mow a couple yards, whatever." But at the end of the day, that little bit of help that we provide is out of the kindness of our heart. And when you come and bombard us with it, you're not doing the work for yourself for us to even notice it. So why should we do the work for you?
Not even just that. Sometimes it feels ingenuine if you're constantly asking, no matter what you're asking for. If you repeatedly ask instead of just waiting and it's waiting for an answer, then you're almost like a kid constantly calling your parent. You constantly keep calling your parent, what's going to happen? Eventually they're going to snap because you keep calling them instead of waiting for them to just be ready to say, what do you need?
Well, that's one thing I learned when I was young, and probably one thing it applies to me. I apply to my life today is this guy that I was running with. He had told me always be the person that never be the person that owes, always be the person that's owed. And I never told things over people's head. There's some motherfuckers I probably should be collecting some rent on, but the thing is like the thing is like I'm not if I'm in a fuck situation, I'm not asking for water. If I'm on fire, I'm not asking you for water to put me out. I prided myself on being able to come out of some of the most fucked up situations. And I figured it out on my own because nobody else stood for me. Nobody else, even the social media. You know how many times you're going to see this too, Lewis, and you got to keep your eyes open. This is something that me and Cody talk about. It's becoming a recurring theme. As of lately, but I'm tired of, I was a joke to them in the beginning. I was a fucking joke in the fucking beginning, but suddenly that they see, oh yeah, man, Chris got a little bit of success, man. It's well, shit, you're my fucking hero, bro, or like you're this to me. Well, you know what? You don't think I fucking remember that? You know what the best thing is? Like Cody said, sometimes you just turn the fucking water off. And that's better than, I'm not going to go out of my way to fucking abuse somebody unless you come in and you threaten anybody in our community, you threaten my business, like you threaten Ant's business or Cody's or yours. That don't give you a fucking problem. But I don't fucking owe you. There are people that literally told me, frame me like it is my responsibility. That's my purpose in life, to just elevate everybody else. Like I can simultaneously build a business that's going to, for the betterment of my friends and family, and my business partners, and be a stand-up individual while making some money for myself and helping other people. I can do those. Both things can be true at the same time. But just because I choose to I could be a cocksucker and not fucking help nobody and just elevate my shit. But I don't want that on me, and I'm not that type of person. You know what I mean? Cody's not that type of person. I know you're not that type of person.
But also who you choose to be in your circle is up to you, not them.
Right. Dude, that is truth right there. Because you know what? There was a lot of Ant tells me this all the time. He was been telling me this since day one. Keep your circle small. Keep your circle. It's quality of individual over quantity. He's like, you know what? Like there's rings to this thing. Like, and that's where we've established where people fall inside of that ring. There are conversations that me and Cody have that I won't have with anybody else, for a reason. The conversation I'll have with Ant, like, it's just like, and I get this question a lot, like, well, what kind of stuff do you talk about? You could tell me. No, I'm not going to tell you shit. Like what I choose to talk about with Jason, or what I choose to talk, or or Cody or Anthony or you or whoever it's my business. It's the business between those two individuals, and I need to know.
Also, a good way to look at it is, if you weren't in the conversation, then why do you feel the need to be a fly on the wall?
Right.
And that's why I said, what I do is not a spectator sport. If you want to spectate it, watch it when it premieres or watch it live. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it makes my guests uncomfortable. I'm not going to have my guests feeling uncomfortable. Their comfort and convenience is top priority to me, to Cody, to Ant. We want to make sure that it is a solid lockdown situation when you come in, that you like come in, you got food, they're in their studio, you got drinks, you got, whatever it is you need that's going to make you just relax, ease in. We shoot the breeze for a minute, we do the thing, and then we go about our, we go get dinner or whatever. But like, that's one thing, like you're doing, I'm proud of you for taking this step. I'm very proud of you. And I think it's going to be fun for me to watch is you making it your own, becoming your own, watching the evolution, like how you present, like even when Cody, like him starting, even when I started, my demeanor, my comfortability, like I can do a live where I'm not nervous. I just fucking get on the camera. I don't care. Me and Cody were fucking crazy. We're on Instagram abusing the shit out of Bonnie Blue last night. It was hilarious. You know, she like you know, she was fucking every guy from the sea to shining sea. Like that was the whole thing. But you know, but the thing is like I want you to. People are going to tell you what you should do. Do this, change that, change that. No, trust yourself. Trust your own instincts. Only you know what your vision is.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and if you fail, it was your choice. Because
yes.
If you make somebody else's choice and you fail, and it's not their fault, it's your fault for listening. You know what I mean? Like, as much as you can try to blame them. Now, sometimes people give advice and it doesn't work out. That's different. But you know what I mean when I say that. Like, absolutely. Because, you know, me and Chris, we see you. Just so everybody knows, we see you. And the ones that are there, we see you too, and we already know. We know who we don't have to watch, and we know who's for some reason watching us and acting like we are too ignorant to see it. And just because we're not going to be aggressive, abusive, and abrasive, it's because we look for the better in you, and we're going to try to get to the other side of this without letting you extort me or letting you hurt my vision and change what I do. You know, and that's part of why, you know, Chris, I'm going to go back really quick. So when they asked, was there a conversation, right? And I said, is that question for everybody? I laughed, but this is why, because I remember, and this is one of the most impactful moments of my life, is when I was sentenced to 15 years in prison. I don't think there was any oxygen in that room, bro. Like, I was like, well, time to man up. You know, my life is not going where I wanted it to go. And I now have no choice where it goes until X, right? And since then, like, I've been on a lot of different journeys. I was three classes away from getting my level 2 certified addiction counselor. I am educationally done. I am not, as far as practical work, done. I mean, I have done the work by now. But at the same time, like, I don't need that education. I don't need that title, because I got the wisdom. I got the experience. You know, I've been the one sitting there with a needle in my hand, stabbing myself in the face because I'm nodding out. I'm the one that sat there and caught the time for my bad decisions. You know, I have more wisdom than that book ever gave me. And I realized that, you know, recently I had a conversation with Chris, and I don't know if he knows this, but that it was a life-changing, like, not life-changing, but my wife has been telling me this too for a long time. Cody, you need to get into ministry. You don't understand how you affect kids. You don't understand how you affect people. And I think what the reason that I'm so judgmental and hard on myself, right? But realizing that if I just get over my own self and put myself out there the way that I want to be out there without no apologies, then it's me, and I don't have to worry about it. And I can help people the way I want to help them. And if they don't receive the help, that's not on my end either. You know, but me putting myself out in faith and being more bold in my ministry and my discipleship for Christ has really given me a stronger backbone to myself. And I never realized that, you know, because I've always seen those guys that are like super biblically, like Charlie Kirk's a perfect example, right? Like, very intelligent, very kind, very well spoken. And I never thought I could be like that. But every day I try to be a little bit more of that type of a person that I want to become, which is a little Charlie Kirk, a little Pastor Mark Driscoll, a little bit of Chris, Chris. There's parts of these people, a little bit of Anthony, a little bit of Jason. There's parts to these people that I look up to that I want. And maybe I have those attributes. But the thing about when it comes down to the money, when it comes down to the help, me and Chris will not be caught being fucking disingenuous. Nothing we do is bought, nor is it fucking extorted out of us. We will do it out of the kindness of our heart because we want to do it, or we're not fucking doing it. Period.
Well, that's why we're a ravenous group of people, man. Like in solid, like that's where I want that. It's the greatest fuck you to all those that know who they are. Is because I am 100% built, not bought. Like, I've been offered exorbitant money. I thought they were a retard, and I thought they were making poor business decisions, so I turned it down. But and that's the thing, is Lewis is somebody I offered Lewis to come, hey man, do you want to work with me in the beginning? He told me no. That's built, not bought, bro. That's not like, he ain't gonna ride on no one's fucking coattails. And now, but the thing is now this isn't me, and he's not riding off of what we're doing. He's working with us. Is walking adjacent with us. You know what I mean? And there's a huge difference in that. Like, you know what? So that means that, you know what? It broadens. He's trying to help people, entertain people a little bit, but ultimately help people. So with that, like, we fall in the entertainment shit, bro. We had all these people fucking rolling last night. We were straight retards. But the thing is that this opens up more collab work, more things that all of us, cross-pollination is how you grow. Have a strong network. I focused my first year building my network in my circle. You think it's a mystery why I've stay in touch with people? There was only one person that, and you know what? And I have a feeling that I'm going to reconnect with him soon. I really do. But like, you know what? You meet. You never know what your next business relationship is going to be, or your next friendship. Like, Cody's one of my best friends. He lives across the United States. Same thing. Matt Patunis, he's a little handicapped, but I mean, I love him. Lewis, like, I mean, you're like my adopted son, and Lewis knows me. I'm like, seriously, when I say I'm going to call you back, I'm the best at it.
Best. So one quick question. Lewis, what's your spiritual? And I may have missed this when I was watching. What's your spirit? What was your spiritual upbringing? Like, did you go to church with your family? Do you believe in God? Are you pagan or?
Didn't touch on that in the podcast, so you didn't miss anything. So growing up, my dad was always old fashioned like witchcraft from like Puerto Rico and stuff like that. He was always believed in that stuff, and like was raised all with that stuff. So he believed in that, what they call brujeria, like all that witchcraft stuff.
Yeah.
He believed in all that stuff. He has spell books and stuff that I never touched a day in my life. But so he always had that kind of faith and everything. But growing up, he always told us if anybody, like, he kept Christian artworks of the Last Supper and stuff in the kitchen, in like the dining room. He kept religious stuff like crosses and everything around the house and stuff. And he always said, if people asked what you are for religion, tell them you're Christian. I said, why? Because you never told us to, like, we believe in God or nothing like that. He said, because if you tell them anything else, then they're going to think you're crazy and take you away. So don't tell them anything but that you're Christian. If they ask, say, I believe in God. And then
what's your personal beliefs? What do you think?
So I never adopted any religion growing up. I always just left it as is, and never like understood that it was a pagan household, but never kind of like got myself into it and everything. And I always just kind of steered clear of religion and kind of focused on making my own path and sort of everything outside of religion. But then growing up back in like 2017, I'd like to say, I believe it was 2019, I decided to kind of branch out into that Wiccan side, like paganism and stuff, and kind of look into all these pagan religions and stuff, and kind of dabble myself. And I found a lot of faith and spiritualism in all of that stuff. And I still to this day consider myself what's called an eclectic Wiccan, which just means that you adopt the title of Wiccan, but you take a bunch of different religions in as basically like a bunch of adopted practices from other religions and stuff. So there's stuff from Christianity that I believe. There's stuff from Nordic Celtic religions that I believe, and all this sort of stuff. But I take it all into one true belief, and that my overarching narrative is that if so many people put power into all these different religions, then who's to say that they can't all exist at the same time? So if everybody believes in the Quran, if this person believes in this person believes in that, the teachings of that religion may not be the most correct in terms of like morally correct. But at the same time, who's to say that their version of the accounts aren't having gotten so much energy put behind it over the years that it has some validity to it, even if you look at each book and it's all basically saying the same thing, that there's one God. Or even if there's multiple gods, there's always an overarching narrative of there's one main central being in the. So all of it has some sort of element that is the exact same. It's just the retelling of it is different, and then everybody has their own moral way of going about practicing it in terms of like We're not out here doing shady stuff like the Middle East, but
right.
But
no,
at
the reason why
you believe in a God too.
Yeah, right. The reason why I say this is because, like Chris was saying, we're like a big fishing boat here at the boneyard, right? We're just not all trying to catch the same people, but we're trying to make sure nobody gets fucking missed. So regardless what you believe in, what you don't believe in, you're welcome here, and you're welcome to express yourself here, and you're welcome to find safety, comfort, and help inside of this family, inside of this community. And you'll experience that because, like, even though I know Chris doesn't agree with sitting down. It doesn't. Okay, hold on. Let me reword that. He doesn't agree with some of the people he sat down with. Okay, you sit down with a serial killer. Just because he sits down and asks some questions doesn't mean he's like, yeah, I'm totally down with smoking 9 people and choking them and doing all this weird shit, But like, he still is able to sit there and have an intelligent conversation with them to find out more about them, right? To learn more about people. And that is exactly where we're able to capture on that. And what's nice about the fact that we choose who our circle is we get to catch who we want to, and we get to make sure that our scope of work is actually effective, instead of just being like, I'm going to do this, and then you just miss the target, and you know.
Exactly. Because I always said, and I've said this to Chris even like probably a few days ago, where I always said that the main problem with my situation is always the technology and financial portion isn't up to where I would like it to be. But that doesn't stop me from still being right here, right now, with the camera in front of me, all these lights, a green screen, the tech know-how to do it. I got a 10-year-old laptop that I'm making do with. So regardless of not having the technology, most of the stuff I do is from my phone. I currently have the live up on my tablet, and I'm viewing chat up on my tablet. So exactly. I still piecemeal in everything that I can in order to go ahead and do what I want to do. So even though I don't have the computer that I need to edit, the ability to go and actually make highly produced videos and stuff like that, it doesn't stop me from still doing what I can now to make sure that I could further the ability to do it once I have. Because if you're starting from scratch, once you have everything, then you waited so long to have everything that now you wasted so much time that you could have been helping. So all those people that you didn't help are now still struggling out there somewhere because you didn't give that time and energy to them. You spent the time and energy focusing on what don't I have versus who can I have helped.
Well, I mean, how many books have you looked at and you looked at the cover and you're like, this fucking book's the best book on the planet. Hands down, best cover, best book. And then you read it and you're like, this thing's shit. It could be written. It could be written on fucking rice paper. It could be written on fucking parchment. It doesn't matter. The quality of your content and the quality of your production is in yourself, not in the quality of 1080p, 4K, or whatever it might be. As long as you're getting your message out there, that's what matters. Because somebody needs to hear it. And I know this. I speak for Chris and probably you too. I don't care. I just want to help one person in my life. One. I'm pretty sure I've done that, but I'm going to keep acting like I haven't, because that's just my goal. Is every day, can I help one person? And some days that might be your closest friend. That might be your wife, your mother, your father, your brother, whoever it might be, right? But at the same time, it might be that random dude sitting on the corner jamming out. That dude had no headphones. He was having the best block party ever, sitting right there. And that's why what I mean? Like, he held his sign up, he put it down, and he wasn't aggressive. That was the whole reason I wanted to give that dude money, is because he wasn't stalking my window. Because when you go, I know this is everywhere pretty much, right? But when you're the first one at the stoplight, they're like playing detective in your car. It's like, bro, you ain't a fucking cop. Quit shaking me down looking for my ID and shit, They're trying to see if you got cash. I understand. I get it, right? I've never been there. I would do the same fucking thing. If my kids needed fed right now, I would go out there, I would fucking beg, and if that didn't work, I'd fucking steal my way to success. And I have no shame in saying that about my children. And that doesn't make it right. That just justifies why I did it. Doesn't make it right.
But also, one thing I've said a lot of times, and I say this all the time to my therapist and stuff like that, that I always find that the most success I have in the most success I have in solving my own problems is when I'm helping somebody through theirs. Because once I'm helping somebody through their problems, it's almost like I'm able to hear myself speak through me helping them, and I'm able to only listen to my own words when they're coming out of my mouth to help somebody else. So I can't listen to myself and help myself through my own problems. But when I'm helping somebody else, like if I'm helping you through your problem, so let's say you're having a relationship issue and it leads into us talking about how you're feeling like you ain't enough. You're feeling like you're not enough in this world, and I'm helping you through that. But through our conversation, I may say something that like changed your whole entire life because you heard that. But at the same time, I heard it too. And me hearing it was something that I needed to hear, but I couldn't say it unless I was talking to somebody else.
And that's
so a lot of the times, that's what I use as an outlet to do that, is like that conversation is needed to happen because it's going to help me more than it's going to help you.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's like it's like some of the people you meet, you don't know how it's like, I always think about, you don't know how they're going to change your trajectory. And Michelle is a good example of this, a really good example of this.
Amen.
I've always known Michelle. Ever since I started, I met Jason. I was in the chat, hanging around, and I've never really dealt with moderators or anything like that, but I was like, there was a level of intimidation. Like I was like, all right, like I don't want to disrespect anybody or anybody to feel this way. Michelle really made me feel like, probably like she made me feel so fucking welcomed. It's insane. Like, I've talked to her about so many, and seriously, she's somebody that I should tell her more often how much she does mean to me. But she really is just an amazing person. Same with Yarn, same with Cody, same with Keith, but these are all people that have changed my trajectory. Like Michelle, like I remember there was a whole thing. There was another group. They did this whole stupid thing. They wanted me to moderate over there, and she was like, "Honey, fuck that. Like, you should just come fucking mob with us." And I thought it was a joke. Like, I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, no problem." And then I ended up becoming a wrench. And she seriously is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. And she kicks her own ass too much. Like, she doesn't give herself enough credit, enough. And I want people to realize, and it's something that, Michelle is etched into the mythology, even with Jason. Like, I mean, she's known him longer than anybody. And it shows. And I remember her telling me that she heard his story and God put that on her. She just, couldn't explain it, but God put that on her heart to be there for this man. You know what I mean? And they've been friends ever since. Michelle is a shining example of a selfless individual. Like, if I had a serious problem, Michelle would be there like in 3 seconds, and I'm saying this intentionally for you, Michelle, because I want you to know how loved and valued you are always, and you always will be. She's like my big sister. Like, I mean, she puts up with some wild shit with me, dude. Like, trust me. She'll tell you, I'll start yelling about people in the fucking hot dogs, like in the weather report. If she's tolerated, me, like, and these psychotic rants and like more than anybody, next to Kayla or Cody. But this is, like she said right here, true story. I would not know Jason without my faith and my command. See, like, and I've seen Michelle. She does her rounds. She checks in with people. She's out there when Crazy White Boy hasn't been in the chat over at Jason. Jay said, hey, like, she'll check in with people and make sure you're good. I know Yarn Maiden does the same thing. We have, I know Julie's does the same thing. Like, we have the greatest family. We're the best collection of psychotics on the fucking internet, dude. Like, I'm happy with our little corner, that we've built. And it's not just me, dude. I'm just a psycho talking on the camera. It's people they don't throw enough love and respect to the people that show up time and time again. They like this stuff, they share this stuff, they engage, like what Mari in her family, those kids painting the pictures, they painted something for me, they painted something for Jason and JD. These things, they need to know how much more that means to me than anything in the world. You know, me and Jay had that conversation right before we went live. We knew we were going to do the giveaway, but I talked to Mari, and I just realized when she had told me nobody knew that we were going to do a giveaway like that. You know, but I said, she was telling me that, her son and daughter were painting me a picture, me and Jason a picture. And I know what's going on in her life. You know what I mean? That's where we decided to pivot and give it, they need a little pick me up in their life. Sometimes motherfuckers just need a win, and it's okay for that. Sometimes in this life, it's not about, there's too many fucking assholes that are all about, how they can fucking benefit their position. It's just like how they go after my Rolodex, Cody's Rolodex. This is our network that we cultivated, and it's not just about business contacts. These are my borderline family. You see, family. Like someone like Anthony or Cody or Greg Scarpa or fucking Jason. These are people that mean more to me than any fucking podcast. If I had to choose between this fucking platform and maintaining my fucking relationship with Jason or Greg or Ant or any of you, I'll burn this fucking thing down. You know what I mean? I won't sacrifice. I'm not gonna sacrifice my own beliefs or my integrity, for fucking anything. I've had people try to trap me in fucking gotcha moments. I've had people try to, and this is just in the last couple of months, people try to burn down everything, all this positive shit that me and Cody are working very hard on. And you, Louis, behind the scenes, this is not a fucking fly-by-night operation. Like, if you want to be in it, you got to be in it. Like,
this is also not a $1 million operation.
No, we're building the plane while flying. I got to where I was building on fucking Elmer's glue in popsicle sticks, but I somehow made it this way. So everybody telling me, oh yeah, maybe your video quality sucks. Well, so does your guest list. You want me? I'll throw some shit back. So does your fucking guest list. So you keep interviewing the T-ball coach down the road, and I'll keep bringing in the apex level shit. How about that? Save it to professionals, okay? Because the asshole that told me that, he's already out of business. You know what? But you know what? And I made it this way, and I'm still talking to Greg, and I'm still friends with fucking A. I just talked to John A. like the other day. You know what I mean? Like, these are people that are in, like, John is in a fuck situation right now. Like, it's a friend of mine that's in a fucked up situation, but he trusts me enough to fucking hit me up to talk to me. Because he knows I'm not going to fucking abuse him or try to make some fucking clickbait reels on it.
Right.
You know what? And that's what I think people's misconception of what they see our, like, Yali, they see True Fist Mike, Mr. Morningstar, he's a fucking handicapped bastard himself, but he's here. You see Keith Shibley. These are all fucking people that, but if push came to shove, they got your back. 100%.
Absolutely. You seen the text Keith sent me earlier?
Yeah.
He's in another fucking state, in another fucking world, dealing with all his fucking problems. And what's he worried about? Making sure me and my family got more to eat later on, hopefully. He's trying to put together a business deal for, making connections for me the same way that, like we try to look out. And that's very true. Just like you said, Chris, we are building this thing while flying. And if you don't like it, get the fuck off. We don't care. If this isn't for you, it's not your cup of tea, hop out. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah. But don't try to derail me. There was somebody a few months ago, because, and I'm fired up, and it's an educational thing, but I got to say it because I want to protect this family, and I'm going to protect you the same. There was somebody that reached out and said, hey, is Cody interested in doing X, Y, and Z? And I was like, well, I gave a little context to it. I was like, all right, I asked him about it, but I'm not Cody's fucking booking agent. I was like, that's a question for him. But I was like, I mean, dude, you got to run it to him. I mean, I don't, if it's good, if it's on the up and up, then what's the problem? Like, why are we having this conversation?
But here's the thing. It's very telling that they asked you instead of him first.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, but here's the fucking kicker is they texted my wife and Cody a thing saying that, don't worry, I'm not setting you up on this big ass podcast. Chris said you're not interested in it. I never fucking said it. And I was going to react bad. Trust me, I was going to react bad. Instead, you know what? I fucking backed the fuck off. for 2
Turn off the
seconds.
water.
It's all I did was I drove all the way to Maryland to hang out with Keith on an hour of sleep and a vicious hangover, and I put it out of my mind, and still plugged forward on helping those kids. You know what? That's what we did. I defaulted back to I kept trusting in this family, in this crew, this organization, these people. I put my faith in them, and I felt better about it. And trust me, that asshole should be lucky. He should be grateful that I didn't react the way I was gonna.
But here's also the telling thing too, is why is everybody so adamant about trying to bandwagon and or destroy a platform that's built on the back of expressing nothing but love and kindness for people's situations and to give them a platform to express themselves and tell their stories? Why is a positive platform constantly getting people up in arms with pitchforks?
Because they're lazy. That's why.
Because it's work.
That's true. Every time somebody makes an asshole comment in the chat, they put some bullshit on the chat. I look at you as a gold bar. Thank you for making us some money. Mangia bene, and suck my ass. But keep them coming because half
the time they show up more than the actual dedicated fans.
Oh, dude, listen. I've seen it happen to Jason. I've seen it happen to JD. I've seen it happen to me. It's going to happen to you now. You got the fucking sunglasses on. You're going to be a beacon of Satanism. You're going to be a beacon of evil. And you know what the thing is? I'll tell you with the vicious appetite of this family and how protective we are of one another. So there was this lady. She just went too far, and I was choosing violence that day. And at 2:00, not even 2:00 in the afternoon, didn't even schedule, just went, I'm going live in 10 fucking minutes, went on there. So this lady was calling me a satanic grifter, and I was a piece of shit because I wore sunglasses. Like, she's entitled to know why I'm wearing sunglasses. Well, bitch, let me educate you. It's bright. These lights are fucking bright. Okay, that we'll start there. But you know what? She wanted to say some stupid ass comments. Kurt Hafferty super chats $10 to tell her she's a stupid asshole, pretty much. Like, that you want to talk about, he could have said that shit for free. But motherfucker was like, you know what?
He did, yeah.
Kurt Hafferty ain't the one you want to fuck around with. I'll promise you that.
Going back to that part you just said, though, when that situation happened, here's the thing: is me and Chris talk a lot. We're very open, like we're very close about everything. But when this came out, like I kind of I was one of those statements that you're like, wait a minute, like I had to make a choice in that moment. I stopped. I had faith in knowing Chris, right? Because I know this motherfucker. I know Chris. I don't know you, bitch. I don't know you. And I ain't about to trust you, even though me and you have common background that I should be able to fucking trust you because we've been in the same fucking problems. And for you to take advantage of that and then to never fucking reach back out, bro. It was all cleared up. No, that's not what was said. No, that's not what, like it was no big deal. Well, if it wasn't such a big deal, why did it become like this? Like when, like, oh, it was a misunderstanding. Okay, well, if it's a misunderstanding, why the fuck ain't we talking now? Why all of a sudden you ghost? Well, because you full of shit. And let me tell you, if you think for 1 second that Chris is a fucking idiot or his kindness is a weakness, you're fucking dead wrong. And you're going to end up on the out. And you're just going to be looking on the outside, sitting there just jealous as fuck like you are now, sad as fuck with your ass in your hand, wishing you could have done something different. Because if you would have treated Chris or I with respect and not tried to take advantage of us, then you would be eating too, or you would have success too in some form or way, right? Not saying like everybody can get in the same car with us, but at the same time, we're going to make sure that if you're truly on the up and up, that you're like Keith. Let me use Keith as a perfect example. Frontline Healing and Keith will always have a shout out on this channel. Always. Yep. Not even worried about paid. We're damn sure not paid promotion, and that's fine. We don't care.
Linked up. It's permanently.
So, yes. Yeah. And his speaking engagements. Why? Because he's a loyal ass dude. Loyal. Flat out loyal. And fucking he knows where to bury the bodies because he's a cop. So it's cool. Like he's got all the tricks. All the ones we know we can't get away with. I'm just kidding. But he, he is the perfect example of he could have came at it differently and tried to extort or get more and take Chris's kindness for a weakness. Instead, he looked at Chris and was like, "This is a good dude. I know he's a good dude. Let's just be friends, bro." And it's evolved into a lot more and a lot more respect and love.
But this is only legs, though. This
Right.
platform is only the legs to stand on for all these people. And if they decide to use those legs to run, then they have to do that on their own.
Yeah,
Exactly.
what they don't anticipate is I stand on all three legs. Like that's what I do. Like I don't fuck around, dude. Like, but the thing is the person that we were just referring to, he's gotten more out of he's gotten more out of me than he should have. Like, you know what I mean? I pushed certain things in places for him that I shouldn't have, and I've and that's how you're gonna repay me. Because the thing is like, I didn't pay for my fucking following.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pay. Oh yeah, there you go. It looks like you just got rosy cheek.
I just blinded myself.
Just burn your retina out. I got a dick in the eye.
It turns out he gets swatted mid-live.
Don't say those words. I'm already on record with the police department. I don't know about Cody though. But the thing is like Keith, I'm gonna tell you this. Are you a boner commander? Yeah, bro. Like absolutely. I expect you going forward to put BYC at the end of your name.
Boneyard Commander.
Yeah, we'll put BBC for Keith. But you know what? But Keith is another person. That one thing I want to talk about with Keith for sure is, and it bothers me, but is he has more value than he gives himself credit for, and like when it comes to the speaking engagements, he doesn't promote himself as much as he should, and I know he's just figuring out his path in this, and he's also been somebody that's been affected by fucking snakes and pieces of shit and and stuff like that. F Miracle Whip and Tiny Hats.
Leave the fucking Miracle Whip out of this.
Listen, whoever that, like, I know 100%. He know, like, he's speaking truth over there. The F Miracle Whip. He's one of our Instagram followers. I got to figure out. I can't wait to figure out which one it is. But Keith, is one of the most selfless people. One of the most selfless people you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's like, even when I met him, it was like I'd known him for 30 years. Like I literally walked up to him at Frontline at the Fuel the Brave thing. I was like, "Is this where you plant evidence or learn on people? Is this where you learn how to do it?" And we're just breaking each other's balls. And it's like I've known him for my entire life. And he told me, he's like, "Oh man, you and Cody don't gotta do that. You don't gotta push the speaking engagements." Yeah, it's like you're right. I don't have to, but I'm gonna fucking do it anyways. I don't have to push the Alaskan Avenger shit. I don't gotta push anything. I do it because I want to. I want to support my friends. You know what I mean? I'm always gonna support my friends. Like, you know what I mean? I don't give a fuck if you got fucking 50 million followers more than me. I'm always gonna. You know what? Every little piece of publicity matters. I don't give a fuck. I can hit the cracks right now for Jason. I can hit the cracks that he's like bigger than. Like I can be in those little corners and reach the ones that miss it. You know what I mean? And that's a gift to be able to make sure that every area is covered. And the same thing for Keith.
Thing too, that the people that don't receive that kindness or receive your assistance or whatever the case may be, like you're explaining now, there's also a thing to be known that like that's also a thing that they have to look inwards as well. Like some people may be in your social circle but not in your inner circle, and they have to sit there, and instead of feeling left out or feel like attacked or whatever the case they may feel, it's like they also have to understand, well, why am I not receiving that same assistance? Why am I not receiving that same anything? So that's also a thing that they have to look inwards and say, okay, if I'm on the outside of the circle, if I'm looking through the window while they're having Christmas, why am I outside in the cold? I got to understand, how do I get underneath the blanket with Chris?
Right.
Wait, I heard what you said, but then Mike distracted me a little bit with his comment, and then I came back into it about somebody getting under the blankets with me. Like,
oh, don't worry about that. We're not worried about that. Don't worry about that. We ain't got to explain that. Hey, question for Michelle. Michelle had a question. Yep. It's a good one. Just really quick. Michelle asked a question for Luis. Is there any area that you prefer, like teens, addiction, or trauma?
In terms of for advocacy work?
Yeah.
I would definitely say not any individual specifically, but I would say if I had to ride for one cause, it'd probably be mental health more than anything, because mental health stretches all facets of everything. Because if your mental state is screwed up, then you can't function in any facet of your life. So you can't function well for your family, yourself. You can't function well in your relationships or anything, because it starts and stems from you first making sure that your mental state is okay, because you can't help others if you're going through it.
Absolutely. Hold on. Rain. Bowden Family Press. Obviously, you can hit my wife up, show her what the design is. Let's see if we can do something a little bit more affordable for the shirt design you're talking about. As long as it's not like, as long as you don't go wearing a Bronco shirt saying we made it, because we're not putting our name on it. But we'll definitely hook you up with stuff like that. Sorry.
All right. I was just like,
you're still under the sheets over there.
Spicy Brown is where. Now I know who it is. I exactly know who it is on the condiment war. He. But yes. Yeah, but yeah, to go with that statement, fuck Miracle Whip. But how could you eat something that says Miracle in front of it, and that's not very pastorally of you?
Well, that's because I'm not a halal diet. I'm not into that stuff. See, if I was a Jew, I would eat the halal crap or the fucking terrorist shit. But I like bacon, I like Miracle Whip, and I like fucking freedom. That's why.
Yeah, but Miracle Whip is kind of the Prophet Muhammad of condiments.
That's okay. It's a condiment. It's never hurt nobody that I know of.
Well, we'll make sure that we're gonna get Muhammad a sponsored Miracle Whip,
right? Drop a bunch of Miracle Whip overseas on them.
Yeah, we'll see. I suddenly get a big ass contract for Miracle Whip as a sponsor, and I'm like, I love this shit, and I'm struggling to a spoonful of it.
Well, that's probably why you don't like it.
Out of the jar.
It's a condiment. It's not a food group. It's a condiment. You spread it on something, not eat a bite of it.
But you would hope that you wanted to spread it on something to make it taste better.
Well, I think dentists use it as a lubricant, not a condiment. But
I mean, I just lost my train of thought. I was trying to keep that one on the rails. I couldn't even get anything out. When he said with mental health, right? Going back to what Luis said, you're absolutely right. Like mental health is where, Reagan got rid of the insane asylums. About that time period is when we got rid of them. And I really wonder today how many people would be put back in an asylum based on themselves, because they're just so unregulated versus how many people aren't raised right to be regulated, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hard because you can only support so many people or support somebody so far. And the same, it comes with money. It goes with mental health. It goes with relationships. If you're not going to do the work yourself, nobody can do it for you.
That, and there's two things that's still being perpetuated to this day. That's the biggest things that we need to break the cycle of, which is that what happens in the household stays in the household. You can't talk about what happens in the household to anyone.
Right.
That needs to be thrown out the window and ran over by a couple of buses, like Final Destination status.
It just needs to be truthful.
Yes. And then two is that it's not okay to talk about your problems.
Right.
Those two things, if we could get over those two things, then you'll be more comfortable talking about either trauma or even good things to happen in the household, and not feeling this, but not feeling every time that you're outside, because you put that and instill that inside of a child, that anything that happens in the household has to stay in the household and stuff like that. Then now they're scared to go out in the open world and talk to people, because they feel like every conversation they might say the wrong thing, and you're always living on edge if you have that mindset.
Absolutely.
And then if you're scared to talk about your feelings, or afraid to talk about your feelings because you've always been told bottle that shit up, then now, regardless if you're a man, a woman, a child, a senior citizen, you're living with a bottle that, if it eventually ever gets uncorked, is going to explode.
Oh, and it's dangerous. I mean, that's kind of what me and Jason talked about a little bit today. You know, is there's some situations in which, like, you know, he asked me about, you know, the turmoil of war, right? Your first time ever taking a life. Like, I don't know how many people in this world can ever relate to this, but we don't necessarily, at a time of war, some units are slow enough that, like, you can grieve it, or you can deal with it, you can process it. I was back out on mission within 12 hours. I was already loaded back up in a truck, booted and suited, ready to take another one, right? And there was no time in between that and burying my best friends. Like, I tell people all the time, it's not the body count that hurts me. It's not the fact that I had to take lives. It's the brothers that I couldn't bring home and the ones that I lost over there. Those are the guys that's the things that haunt me at night. That's what makes me sad, depressed, PTSD, all that stuff, is the survivor's guilt. It's the problems that I have with even just thinking about what happened to them, because not only did I lose somebody, but I watched them go, or I seen what was the very minimal of remains left, you know, where one of the guys that we put together, he could have been put in a lunch sack, you know, and that's all his family got back. And you can't process that. Like, and who can? I mean, how much therapy would you need to actually be able to process that?
Exactly.
You can't.
Exactly, because it's basically structured, and that's why one of the most popular genre of video games is video games based on war and propagandizing war, because they teach you from a young age and build you up to glorify war through these video games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, all this stuff. And it almost feels like that when you're actually in the field. I'm pretty sure you can say that it almost feels like it gets to a point where it's a structured like a video game, in which you're constantly loading into the next mission and the next level, to where you never got time to think about what happened in the last level, because you're going to the next level.
Exactly.
You're going from mission to mission to mission, that basically you just pick up your ammo, reload, and then you're bound to the next mission. There's no time to anything. It's structured like a video game. At the end of the day, it's just all a game.
Yeah. And if you try to unpack it, you're a mess on the mission. Like, it's not going to work out. Who are you going to talk to? The guy next to you when you guys are walking in the middle of the night, start crying on mission? Like, not saying that that's a bitch of you. I'm just saying you can't do it. You got to be quiet. Got to be ready so you don't die, you know? And at the same time, you can't get the smell. You can't get the feeling. You can't get the taste out of your mouth. Those things don't leave. They just don't. I'll be right back, Chris. And
Yep. See, everybody, I don't know, everybody processes their, their situations differently. But, like you were saying, yeah, I would imagine that's the case for, I can't relate as far as the combat sense. But, I mean, I've seen a lot of people, they, like, in a criminal sense, it's like, they think it's a fucking game. And they're playing it, like, they play all these games, and then, or they watch all these movies until they experience it. Like I said, I've seen real violence, like, break out in bars. Let me tell you something. This isn't like a fist fight. This isn't some high school fucking locker room fist fight. When people are getting thrown a beating, it's bad, bro. Like, it's really bad.
Oh, the only time I've ever seen real violence was I walked past a whole entire, basically a jumping happening. And when I was coming home from school, I witnessed two separate groups of people just like having a giant all-out brawl in the middle of like a side street. And I just had to walk past it to go home. And they were like stomping people out. It was brutal.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I watched a guy, he disrespected somebody, and he got fucking fingers cut off right on the fucking bar. You know what I mean? That's what real violence looks like. You don't forget those sounds. You know what I mean? You don't forget that. I'll never forget that image of that thing. And it happened so fucking fast. You know what I mean? like it's just it's a fucked up situation. You know what I mean? Like same thing. Like Steve, the last emperor, he's the governor of Spicy Brown. Like he just said, the war is definitely not structured like a video game. But I mean, I get, I understand, like, but you're just moving and constant. But like, if you slow down, you think about like, Keith is a cop. He's out there on the fucking street, and there's a shootout. I mean, shootouts they don't go on for, on the street. They're over pretty quick. But the thing is if say you had an active shooter, you don't have time to sit there and think of, like, you have to default to training, and you have to move forward through it. Like if you're in a war zone where it could be sustained, maybe you got somebody in a bunker or a fucking hotel window and they're firing back, like you have to maneuver fast. And like, and it's also, even though it's over, I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, Cody, but just because one incident has been resolved, you still have to be concerned. Is there going to be another one that's going to break out? You have to make sure that things are swept, people are safe. Like, those are the elements that the games and these movies, they leave out. You know what I mean? They just like, I was trying to explain this to my son. You see the funny parts, you see the in the music, you see all, like they just come up as a little bit of skirmish and stuff like that. And then they're just out doing podcasts, making all this fucking money. You're not seeing, even when he sees the flash, the money and all that kind of shit, you're not seeing what you needed to do in order to get that money. Or when I was catching an education by somebody more experienced in that life, it's basically, he said, you can't let people treat you like a jerk off. You're not going to let somebody talk to you in that manner. You better show up. And they're watching you. If I didn't show up and do what I had to do, then I'd be like, what the fuck's the point of having this asshole around? You know what I mean? Like they mud check you every chance they get. They're constant. Everything you do, it's, in whether it's a combat, like a war zone, if you're, whatever it is you do, there's always elements that Hollywood makes it seem like it's so easy. Even in what we're doing now, in such a simple and safe, controlled environment. You have to watch every fucking thing you say. You have to watch every person that's around you. There's so many people, they're not rooting for you. Like we covered that. So, and they see, like, people think that, we're all doing this shit. We're all millionaires. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, well, they see, Chris is out with Ant. They have nice dinners and this and that. They see Cody's down and locked in. They, as soon as he did Ian Bick, they think he's a fucking multi-millionaire oil tycoon. I fucking wish that I was racking that money, but that's not reality. They think that you just turn the camera on, you're an instant celebrity. No, they have social media is a double-edged sword. Hollywood is made, they in video games in certain ways have conditioned and twisted people into thinking that something is easier than it is.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is you think like my friend over here, the last emperor. Do you know how many fucking people, and I know he'll agree with this, they'll see a Marine commercial and they will rush out and then they want to become a United States Marine, and they just see the few to proud commercials and all that shit. And even when they get to basic training, they're like, wait a minute. Like, this guy, why am I getting fucking lit up? And then they realize that as they progress, if they progress through their military career, like, people, you're going to lose somebody. I remember my drill instructors when I was down there, they told me straight the fuck up. You better look around because you're going to become friends. Somebody's going to fucking die. Some people in this room are going to fucking die. They almost guaranteed it, like in a very cynical and weird way. You look at Keith, like becoming a cop. You know how many people, they go out there thinking that's, it's going to be an easy check. And then you realize you're getting fucking shot at. You got a crackhead tweaker that's pissing on another person. You go to a domestic violence thing. Like, how many fucking situations for a cop? But how many? Tell me a good scenario they get during the day. Every fucking call is something bad.
This is where social media and like YouTube and stuff kind of play a negative, but also a positive hand in a way, like the double-edged sword of now that everything's so chronically online. You have channels like police activity and stuff that show you all the body cam footages and everything that releases and stuff like that. And so you get to basically vicariously live through these events that the cops have been through social media and online presence and stuff like that. But that also does what you're saying about puts a negative light on it, because you get the glorified version. Even though you're seeing terrible stuff happen, you get the glorified version of seeing it happen, but while you don't have to be the active shooter, while you don't have to be the one taking the kid's life.
And you get some asshole's perspective just because they watched the video. They now know what it feels like to be that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I would have taken the shot. I would have dusted that dude. No, you wouldn't have. You probably wouldn't have shot him either, actually, or you would have. You know what I mean? Like, and one of the hardest things I think that, and this again today, man, when I say that I had an amazing interview because somebody finally approached something different and had a very tasteful, tactful, and intelligent way of asking something. But I was prepared to kick every door in Iraq and shoot every motherfucker in the mouth. I was not prepared to take a life, do it over, and I was not prepared to lose a friend and do that over again, and or get hurt myself. You know, we did combat lifesaver stuff like that. EMT school, you know, I did that on the side so that I could be trained, so that I didn't have to worry about if, you know, me or my spotter got hurt, or if I was the spotter, my sniper, depending on which way we went out. If me and you were alone, at least I knew I could get us medically taken care of, and if I wasn't too fucked up, I should be able to tell you how to fix me, right? But when you have when you have one of your guys, it doesn't matter if it's your enemy or your best friend in the unit. When he's laying there with his aortic tree blown in two, which is the valve, which is everything coming down right here, and you're just watching it, you know, like even your instinct kicks in to try to stop the bleeding, trying to help him, right? And then you realize like that feeling of, I can't stop this. You know, I'm the most trained motherfucker on the planet. And even if I had a trauma surgery room right here, it doesn't matter if I had one, it still wouldn't have saved him.
You know, my buddy over here, he says, I can say that feeling of being immortal or untouchable vanished the second I watched my buddy die. Mortars will make you rethink your mortality.
Absolutely. Mortars, I will agree with that, dude. Indirect fire is the scariest thing because it's kind of like peekaboo, right? Boo, it's over. You're done. Like you cannot fight back. There's nobody to look at. Normally they're not in line sight. You know what I mean? Somebody's over here, they're spotting you, and somebody's way over there behind another fucking mountain, and they're lobbing mortars over it or over buildings or over whatever. And the destruction is instant. And what you have to figure out is where are they shooting next? And there's nowhere that's safe.
There's a member of the community. I'm not going to name him just for obvious reasons, but when he was deployed in Afghanistan, one of his best friend got killed on a breach. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a simple thing. Like, there was nothing on the door, but they moved. Once you moved a few feet in, you know, you're starting to do your process. It just, there was something that was in there, boom. You know what I mean? And he said those moments, everything can take a 180 in the blink of an eye. Like, you don't know. That's why clearing buildings was scary. Like, was probably one of the toughest things when you're going through certain areas or a compound. Like, it's so much, there's tight hallways, there's doors, like there's a lot of windows. You don't know, is like something overlooking the compound, like if you're going into an area or whatever, is there somebody watching? He said you have to anticipate you're being watched everywhere. Like, you know, when you go out, he's like, you know, some of those little kids you see in the pictures, they go up to your truck. They're trained and they're dialed in on, they want to see how many guys inside the truck. They want to try to see, you know, how many people are at a checkpoint, how much weapons, or what's the firepower look like. He said, you have to be prepared to kill everybody around you. The woman that's sitting in the fucking bazaar, he's like, yeah, she could just be walking with her dog or a child, and next thing you know, she's pulling an AK-47 and starting to fucking buck rounds at somebody. Or you're doing a misdirect over here, and this guy's blowing shit up over there. You know what I mean? Like, you're not safe, you know, and it's weird. You know, it's a very weird, I guess what it boils down to, unless you're in that situation, you can't relate to it.
No,
You
because
know,
they're not prepared for the fact that the structure, we're one of the only people that will fight you with the structure. We'll fight you in uniforms, we'll fight you with distinct markings to say here, we're here fighting you. But
and a moral compass that we're held to by law.
Yeah, so they're not prepared to go out there and probably just look at every single person, 100 people in a crowd, and think, okay, probably 85 of them are going to shoot me right now. And they're not wearing anything. They just look like your fucking mailman, and they're going to fight you.
And it's like the people, what it comes down to, it's ignorance. And then there's fucking scum out there. I can't remember his name. It's something Valenti. He's a complete fat jerk off. The one that did that thing when he was basically praying to the Ayatollah. He's like, he gave his address. It was something Valenti. He's like, I'm in Queens, New York. He's like, I don't. And he said, he's like, good luck, Marines. Basically wishing death on the fucking military. Hey, retard. Here's a news flash for you. You know what? In those situations, it's when I hope it's like, damn. I hope they open up a draft and they put fat fucking retards like that and they send them to the front line. Mm-hmm. We'll see how fucking smart he is and how tough he is when the shit hits the fan. You could pick fights with fucking people online. You're a tough guy there. You can roll in with your entourage and abuse somebody at 5 fucking deep, just some random person because you didn't like their fucking comments. But why don't you do what real motherfuckers do and go over there and put your money where your fucking mouth is? Because I promise you, if a jihadist started getting fucking wild in Brooklyn, you're probably going to be for all this anti-cop and anti-military shit that this motherfucker keeps preaching. Like, he's going to be the first officer. He's using hate speech.
Yep.
He got what he wanted.
He uses Miracle Whip as lubricant, fat piece of shit. Like,
hell yeah, he does.
Like,
abuses it.
Dude, like,
because the thing is, people swear that they are ready for when shit hits the fan. They have their umbrella on hand. But the problem is, even if you have your umbrella, you can't stop your shoes from getting shit all over them.
But you know what the thing is?
Very true.
That's where it's a slippery slope. That's why I trust the people in this community and I trust my friend circle to make sure that I try to stay as versed. I mean, there is a person that we are working with slowly, and I can't give you a determination of when it's going to happen. But this one is something that it really. Me and Cody are going to go into a very serious topic, and one of them, Yali's kind of the inspiration behind this. But people need to know the reality of child soldiers. Like in especially there was somebody I have talked to a little bit that's in Rwanda that escaped that life, and he was enslaved as a child. You know what I mean? By these fucking scumbag warlords. But there's a lot of other survivors of, especially things like the DRC. And we're going to be covering those things and having people that we're going to start giving people perspectives of other parts of the world, not just wild shit that happens in the United States. Me and Cody are going international. We're going to be talking to there's a lot of fucked up shit that happens out here. It might give you people in our country a little perspective on things and stop being so quick to I have somebody that's going to be coming up here that actually lived in Venezuela, could tell you what it was like living under Maduro. And he doesn't understand like the people's mindset of like why they're pray, like these liberals are out there praying for a narco dictator that killed a lot of people. But people are going to start getting a very dark education on things, whether they like it or not. So, but yeah, this has been like, Louis, I'm proud of you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. I try.
So what's next, bro?
Definitely. Well, right now I'm trying to still work on securing better computers so I can start doing stuff. I want to go more into long form content on YouTube. So I'm still trying to work out what that looks like. But what's next is just kind of keeping the Cody method is trying to stay consistent with the uploads, but also trying to actively work on figuring out what's the quickest path in order to actually do something like in my own life to get further down the path of either becoming like actual like mental health advocate or a social worker or something along those lines. So like still working out what that actually looks like in all reality outside of this.
Yeah, like I mean, and you know, and that's, you know, me and Cody are here. We have a lot of great people on the network. If there's anything that we can do to help, you know, I'm going to add you to the rotation. You know, there's a lot of that, like we support our family, and people might take advantage of that. With, you know, they come up with stupid fucking things and they make stupid statements, and you know, like buy your local criminal a bloomin' onion. Like they come up with these things, and you know, I don't have time for that kind of behavior, but the thing is, you know, trust your vision, bro, and trust your instincts. Like, you know, and I'm telling you, my biggest mistake in this business was being far too trusting. I'll tell you that. I was naive, and I thought like some people were looking out for me, but they weren't. They were just keeping an eye on me to see how well. And I know the difference between who's kissing my ass because they enjoy what I do. You know how I know the difference? And those that are just keeping an eye on me is people will kiss my ass over and over and over again. There's certain people, and they say, "Oh, he's doing great things. He's doing this. He's moving up in the world." But then I never see him in any fucking live stream. I don't see it. Like, you know, it only seems to be convenient for them. But I've done an awful lot.
I smell like your ass. So,
well, you know, here's the thing. Me and Cody have done an awful lot for them. But when the faucet gets turned to fuck off, I don't want to hear nothing about it. Whoops. Nope. You know. So plug away, bro.
Plug away. Okay, well, on all social media platforms, you can find me at Trust Lewis in Lewis Daniel. That's LUISDANIEL. Other than that, I have a couple of side projects / career moves that I'm working on, such as my Be Perceived Nails by Be Packy nail page on also all platforms, Be Perceived. And I was originally starting this whole venture as being a streamer, playing games and making music and stuff like that. So I have Be Packy streams. You probably see me in the chat before and heard of me before. And that is kind of like my overarching moniker for all that stuff was Be Packy. So I still dabble in that as a side project, but this is my main kind of venture that I'm going forth with now, and eventually legitimizing my press-on nail business. So eventually I'm going to start trying to use that platform, like doing that, to start bringing in some money to fund a lot of this other stuff.
So it's coming up this week. Me and Bowden are going to be hard at work. We're hard at work, meaning we're going to be relaxing in the pool, and and taking a sufficient amount of time to fucking not breath. Work. Yeah. But this week, Thursday night, James Jordan, survivor of the '93 World Trade Center attack. He's also going to be featured up on One More Mission soon, and me and Cody will do a live Q&A with him. You know, I got to set it up with him, but you can ask your questions to him. He's very versed. He's a very intelligent guy. Totally not a Jonathan. But we have great. I'm just hung up, but fucking, he threw me off. He said, "I bet if you had your asshole covered in Miracle Whip, they'd be coming back for the taste." You know where Miracle Whip comes from? It's have you ever seen Futurama? Remember how Slurm was produced? Like it was just a fat slug they were squeezing out their ass. They get Miracle Whip from Bonnie Blue.
There ain't no way. There ain't no way.
True Fist Mike has asked Lewis what games he plays. I'm kind of a gamer too. It's good to know, Mike, because I have something I'm going to present to you as well for later. But what games do you play, Lewis?
Mainly what I like to play is story-driven games and single-player narrative games is like my bread and butter favorite genre. So like I think the last one I played was a game called Lost Records, and I played that for like 12 hours straight. Just sat down, did the whole game. To nobody watched it, but it was fine. I loved it. But that's the thing, is like if you're doing stuff because you care about who's watching it, even content like this or lives like this, then you're losing sight of why you're doing it. But other than that, I'd say I play occasional like roguelike games, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, so there you go. So, but there is there's a side project that we're gonna be working on for later on. It's a charity thing. We're gonna try to set it up for later this year, participate in it. That I'll talk to you about privately. We'll make the announcements soon. Um, but I appreciate everybody that shows up continuously. Be sure to subscribe to One More Mission. Cody's got some great shit coming out, and I don't. He's going to be on the Alaskan Avenger. I don't know. Like Jay's reel says Monday it should be out, but who the hell knows? I mean, so we'll keep an eye on that. But when we know 100%, we'll post that shit up online so y'all can be there. And that'd be kind of dope though if it comes out like Monday right before you leave for vacation.
Right. That'd be quick.
Yeah. I mean, it would be pretty damn quick. Obviously the official drink of choice of the Roll of Bones podcast, the Potso Signature Blend. I don't have a bottle with me because it's all up at the actual studio. This is my home corner of the house. The Signature Blend's amazing. But if you're a drunk and have a drinking problem, buy South End Syndicate or invest in American infrastructure with our commercial real estate thing we have going. You can go to AlaskanAvengerOfficial.com. These are things that are kind of we support our friends, so stay up with the Alaskan Avenger and everything he has going. And I'm proud of him. But Jason just announced he got a play button today. He finally came in the mail. That was so fucking deserving of the hard work and stuff he puts in.
That's so awesome, bro.
Yep. And we're gonna be there someday. We'll be there. I'm confident in that.
Amen.
I feel like if you want to book Keith Shibley for speaking engagements, you can DM Keith right up on Instagram. I think would be the best. Would that be the best way to get in touch with him? I think. But Keith's over on Mind Over Madness. You can check that out. Yeah, I don't. Oh yeah, like I mean, you know how it goes. Like all the rest of the stuff. I'm supposed to say. If you want to buy Roll the Bones merchandise, you go to Bowden Family Press. Before I get yelled at again for forgetting to plug our merchandise and all that, that I don't need to ask this community to like and subscribe and share. You're already here. You're already subbed up. We had a good turnout. And what else? Buy your local criminal a bloomin' onion.
Hell yeah. So I figured out the succession of events for Bonnie Blue.
Yeah, here's one thing she adds in the beginning.
I'm off my medication, bro. She's off more than just that. Like,
yeah,
fuck,
yeah,
man.
Guess what time it is? Time for
right,
dude. Like,
Louis
listen,
hey, really quick, I appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you sitting down with us and really. Again, we just flew this airplane. We just built it while flying. We didn't have no plan for this other than Q&A. And I appreciate your journey and your story, man.
Thank you.
But I truly do. And in anything, if anything, just like I said, or like I said earlier, but be yourself, man, and trust in yourself. And like you have already said, put out the content you want to put out. If nobody fucking watches it, at least you enjoyed yourself, and that's your escape from this world. And eventually it'll come. Eventually.
Exactly.
Lewis is an OG, Yarn. He was with me back when we had a podcast together, which I think that'll be fun. Me and Lewis we're gonna rehash an old episode together. And for those that want to try to, give me proper advice and tell me all the things I'm doing wrong, here's a card just for you. I think you've mistaken me for a guy who gives a shit. With that being said, I love everybody in this community. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We still have an auction to conduct. We still have we have just amazing stuff. Also, Matt Petunis, he's running for city council down in his area in New Jersey. He's a great guy. So I'm going to have some stuff posted up. If you want to donate to his campaign, Everything matters, but also sharing his campaign is free. And Matt's our family, and I really hope we want to get our brother in a position, because Matt, I swear to God, is one of the kindest people you'll ever meet in this life. I've been on the phone with him. I know Cody has, where he just stopped the conversation to go bring in someone's groceries, help him bring, help him move them, rearrange a living room. Like, that's just who he is. He's an amazing individual. And also my friend Mike Faraci, he's going to be coming up. He's a good friend of me and Cody's, but me and Cody, we're working on some stuff. So we're putting together an investigative team. And I think the Last Emperor, I think he wants to go trick-or-treating with us too, down at the secret societies in the next 2 weeks. With me and Cody, and leave a boat in Jesus across the United States. Do something. Leave a boat in Jesus from sea to shining sea, and don't do it like Bonnie Blue does, where she just fucks everything from coast to coast.
Leaving Miracle Whip everywhere.
That's
like Demon Whip, dude. All I know is, bro, there is not enough. I just remember when I was really young, and when I first joined the Army, and I went to my first strip club, and like that weird putrid smell of like some kind of weird body spray and human being mixed together, and you were like, did that person just really smell like that? And then like you go to the backside of the strip club where nobody's at because they stink so bad. You know what I mean? It's like beach paradise with fucking schmegma, like a barge burning down a trash barge on the Mississippi on fire. You're like, I'm pretty sure that's what they just did.
I think I honestly feel like I think the cocoa butter is the strippers, but I think the rest of the trash barge is some of the sad clientele sitting at the bar. Like I really believe, like, speaking of that, like, and that has nothing to do with strippers, but we just finished an interview yesterday. It's going to be coming out in a couple weeks with Carlo Emanuele. He is the author of a book called The Sins We Inherit. Great dude. We had a great time. The man struggled through the planes, the trains, like everything to get here. You see, there's our OG logo right in the back. The OG logo for the podcast that me and Lewis had together. I already know the episode. I think I know the episode that we'll probably listen to. It was not good, but it was pretty wild. Off base. Wait, why? Hold on a second. Why do I know exactly what the F you were talking about with the smell? Reminds me of cheap ass strip clubs, off base strip clubs.
I'm telling you, bro. Like, and then there's always some brand new dude out of basic training, and he's like, she loves me, and it's like, no, she loves the sign-on bonus that you have. She knows that you have $7,500 in your bank account, and she's in love with that. And like one week later, he's sitting over there in the back, like, oh man, I'm out of money, and some other dude's dishing her out, bro. But here's what I want to know: Are they gonna take, when Bonnie Blue goes in to give birth to this baby? Are they gonna be like COVID restrictions where like, they're gonna have to do like a suction truck, like the one you see at the fucking middle of the road with the big ass hose? There's gonna be a guy in there, and they're gonna be fucking cleaning that shit out just to get that poor kid out. Fucking Christ, that poor child. He's probably got brain damage.
Dude, they're gonna send a doctor. He's gonna walk right in, and he's gonna pick it up off, and pick it up and walk it out. Like that's
he's just walking straight. I'm here for the baby, not for the pleasure.
Yeah, and he's gonna walk by a few people in there, and he's like, "Excuse me," like yeah, it's like almost he's gonna walk into that bitch like he's walking into a daycare, dude, like picking up somebody's kid, like you know what I mean? Like,
who's the bank robber that jumped out of the airplane with
DB Cooper? That's
DB Cooper. They found DB Cooper in there.
Hoffa's been in there too, like.
Yeah, dude. They're like, oh, Hoffa, look, oh shit, everybody's here.
If you haven't seen me and Cody's live from last night on Instagram, it was a little wild. Bonnie Blue, strangely enough, became a topic. And Cody, I'm gonna use. There was one line in there about Cody said that they're using parts of her for the bristles at the car wash.
Wait, hold on. Did either of you actually watch her documentary?
She has a What is that? Just OnlyFans?
No, she has a legitimate documentary. The whole entire time she's been doing everything. This woman decided she wanted to film her, and then so she filmed the majority of her career, like up until this point, exclusive documentary. Like
what?
even
what
the
is
famous,
it like bathroom breaks?
Like they even had live footage. They even have real footage from her like huge gangbang that she did. They had like the 100,000 guys that she got famous for. They have exclusive footage from that, and like it's it's fucked. It's fucked. Like there's people who watched that and saw their husbands there. Like it came out that a bunch of people watched that and saw the footage and everything and saw their husbands there. Like because it was all in the documentary. Just all like she literally at one point there after all that happened, she at one point they had like a sky like a top down view of her and she was like making snow angels in the pile of like 50,000 condoms on the floor. That documentary was sick. That documentary was sick.
The smell of that many fucking condoms, dude. I don't like the way one condom smells. Much less. Fuck, that's worse. I'm going to the strip club to smell. I would not even want to know what Bonnie Blue smells like, bro. That shit is fucking. I bet they could just take and put a turbofan inside of her and thrust it out into Iran, and they blow it out into Iran, and all of them would be like, "Yep, we believe in Jesus Christ. We're out. Bye."
Here's a callback to XS episode. They have to go ahead and she has to do the Gwyneth Paltrow route and make a vagina scented candle of herself.
Oh, trash barge.
Like, yeah, I'm about to say, dude. I mean, like, what was it you said? Like when you said the thing about they were using parts of her vagina to clean cars.
They're using her labia at the local car wash to wash the side of your car.
And the mechanic sees bumps that appear on your bumper, like your car getting fucking herpes. Yeah, she ran a train wreck, all right.
Into her.
Yeah. It's like, dude, she's like, like a train tunnel, dude. It really is like.
She thinks a superpower is taking cock.
I'm like.
In her own words, she wants to give back to the community. She wants to give back to the community by being a lot of guys' first experiences.
What a first experience, bro? That's a fucking hollow tunnel. Like what enjoyment does a guy get?
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now.
It's not even attractive.
What do you fucking think the Sarlacc pit from Star Wars was based on? Like eventually, that's her if you put her in Afghanistan, just bury her in the desert,
just swallow and shit,
dude. Like, and then once you do, they did it. I thought. Well, go ahead.
How are you going to pleasure somebody like that? Like you just break off a table leg and start jamming it and you're like, we're good. Fucking, take a baseball bat to the fucking, like everything. I don't understand. Like I would never want to be with a woman like that. I mean, honestly, I'm a married man and definitely.
The documentary showed that through the majority of the beginning of her career and up until like the gangbang and all this other stuff, she was in a happy either relationship or marriage the entire time. And then they eventually split up. But it's like, who was condoning this? Who was in the background cheering you on with the thumbs up?
Who the fuck hurt you? Who hurt you?
One of the 1,000 guys.
Dude, 10,000. Dude, listen. Like what like we established this last night. Her documentary was a descent. Like
yes. Maury Popovich couldn't even figure this bitch out.
Dude, he would give up.
You're not the father.
How do you do a forensics test? Is Keith still here? Keith, how do you do a forensic test with that much DNA?
Like with a fucking shovel?
No, that's a question for the last emperor. Like, he got a little bit of law enforcement background. Now, could you effectively do an investigation with that much DNA?
No. Just sit her down on top of the Christmas tree and just flick on the black light.
Dude, yeah. You lose the Christmas tree though.
But here's the problem. Like, here's the thing with it, dude, is you would have to figure out, it'd be like Clue, I guess, but you'd have to simplify it to what groups of people and when, and then you'd have to, like, I don't even know if you can even do it that way. Like, you can't just simplify it to like, oh, it was this guy with that wiener in that room. Like, you couldn't.
She doesn't know who the dad is.
There's no way. Of course she doesn't. She's never gonna figure that out.
No,
dude. And you know what? And then her child's documentary. This poor kid. His documentary when he's like 35 is gonna be Where's Waldo.
Yeah, well, it's going to be 23andMe as my dad's fucking adventure. He's going to have to fucking submit his DNA to 23andMe and say, who is my father? That's the only way they're going to figure it out.
You know what? And I bet, here's the thing is, I bet the lab, they would receive DNA samples that would come in those 50-gallon drums. Like those big, silicone.
Blue sealed ones?
Yeah, those big blue rubber ones are like plastic ones. They use toxic waste in, they would move it in. It's just like, well, the DNA testing proved that there is 50,000 humans, 5 horses, and
6 dogs.
The trace elements of Miracle Whip.
Oh man, I just that just breaks down our how fucking broken our world is right now, right? Like, to be honest, like, how fucking broke is, you would never imagine. I remember growing up, like, Debbie Does Dallas. That was like the biggest horror ever, but it was a legit thing. Like, I don't know how many dudes that was, but that was the joke. Like, you're such a slut, you're Debbie Does Dallas. Like, somebody calls you that level of slut, you're Bonnie Blue, you did fucking half of a hemisphere. You know what I mean? Like the body count, dude, is, and again, that poor kid, I honestly, and I mean this sincerely, I pray for that kid's soul, because how much shit he's going to get, and I don't care how much fucking money she has. It isn't going to change how good of a mom she is. It doesn't matter how she could be the best mom on this planet. And that fucking kid is going to have nothing but a documentary of how his mom got banged by 600,000 dudes.
Yep. And on top of that, last night in the live, you said that she has a few little questionable things that make her seem Chester-like. And she, even in that documentary I mentioned, has one statement that she makes about how she prefers to, when she originally started off trying to become famous on social media and stuff, she started gravitating towards doing barely legal college students, because that's her favorite thing to do, because she feels like she's giving back by taking these barely legal kids and not in those words, but these barely legal people. She likes giving back to them and being some of their first experiences and giving them experience so they can go off and like say that they did this or have that experience and having good sex so that they could go on and be able to give other people like satisfaction and stuff like that. So she loves being that first experience for all these college students and barely legal college students and stuff. So she made it her mission to go on these campuses and stuff and recruit people to be sex people in videos and stuff.
I've never met another woman in this world that thinks that a Moab bomb is a dildo and pleasurable. Like, there's no fucking world that is the exact thing now. Now every one of those dudes is gonna be like, I wish every bitch was a whore. What the fuck, dude? No, you fucked something that is not act like that. That is not how a real woman is. You know what I mean? And we all know this relationships, right? When you meet them and you start to get to know them and all that stuff, you're missing all of it. And you just fucking totally fuck their minds up doing that.
Yeah, because now they're going to go in every relationship thinking already you did what you successfully did. You took this barely legal, like 18 to 20-year-old, let's say. You fucked the shit out of them, gave them that experience. And now they have that training, so to speak, to go out in the world and be able to pleasure somebody else. But now they have that bloated, like inflated ego and that misconception that this is how every experience should be. So now they're going into a relationship with a proper, let's say, conservative Christian woman and thinking, I'm going to put it in her butt and make her not sit down for weeks. It's like, that's not going to happen. That's not realistic.
Yeah, no.
You're not going to put in her ass. That's not realistic.
No, and you know what? if any dude admits to fucking Bonnie Blue, they're not getting another piece of ass for a couple decades. They're gonna be like, wait, we need to make sure that you have no long last. They're gonna create STD. There's gonna be an STD that she created. You wait.
Yeah, it's dude. Inside of her is a Wuhan lab. You know what I mean?
That's where it is.
Like, dude, they test fucking. Dude, listen, she's walking proof of gain of function, bro. Like, she. I mean,
that's where Anthony Fauci's hideout is.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, dude, like I still picture like her insides looking like the inside of those caves at like Yellowstone or like the Grand Canyon with a guide that's walking around. There's people taking photos next to like the rocks on the wall and the graffiti art that people spray. It's like, hey, I was here. Like, you know,
Yarn, she doesn't have a hard drive. She has a data center.
Oh, hell yeah, she does.
Here's what I don't understand. Who understands and knows her track record and still says, I want to sleep with this woman? I don't care if you have a significant other that admits to you fall in love with and admits to you that, yeah, my track record, I've had slept with like 100 guys and everything. You can live and to work past that. But she made it her mission to increase that record to as much as she can over the course of her lifetime. That's a different story than being accepting with.
There's no trust.
I'm getting her actual number. I want to know.
Bonnie Blue's body count.
Yep.
I'm telling you, they're gonna walk into the ER. They're gonna try to put her into the maternity ward or whatever, so she could give birth. They're gonna lift her off the chair, and the baby's already gonna be on the seat.
1,057 men. Hold on. You got that. 1,057 men in 12 hours? Bro, that's literally like.
Yeah. It showed everything in the documentary. You see it all. The documentary was very explicit. You see the majority of it as if you get firsthand accounts behind the
scenes. And Lewis, why were you watching Bonnie Blue's explicit documentary? Are you a subscriber?
I never heard the name a day in my life, and regardless of how much adult content I may or may not consume, I never heard that name a day in my life. And then I was watching a video by the YouTube channel Smosh, and they have a thing called Smosh Reads Reddit Stories, and they're reading a Reddit story from somebody whose woman, who's found out that her friend's man was in that documentary because her and her girls were watching the documentary, and they were reading the Reddit story and everything. And I'm like, wait, there's a documentary about this woman? How come I've never heard of this woman? What the hell was her number? And then I watched the documentary, and it was the most outrageous, like cringe thing I've ever watched in my life. I could not have, my jaw was dropped to the floor, not because I saw titties, but because of how just outlandish and crazy this shit was.
All right, at least you didn't respond with, because I'm a card carrying member of the blue cards. Like,
I got 1 second. Hold on real quick.
Because I'm one of the 2,000.
Right. As the title says, this dude on Reddit, right. I was one of the guys that participated in the Bonnie Blue sleeping with 1,000 men. She was just picking random guys from a club I was in. And since I was extremely horny, I thought, fuck it, because at the end of the day, pussy is pussy. I was the 765th dude. And by the time I put it in, it just felt empty inside, like no walls or anything in there. I honestly don't even regret it. I'd even do it again, honestly.
There's people who are going back in line.
Like, do what, bro? Like, what? You didn't do anything. Like, you just like fucking throwing a piccolo down a hallway, bro. Come on now.
They reupholstered the furniture, and that was it. And then they left.
They just left the couch inside of her.
I would rather. I would rather do a full live stream with Matt taking a dump every week than ever watch that documentary. I have the track record.
It's worth a watch.
Dude, listen, I've had 2 poops on my lives. None were taken by me.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been 2 poop represented during, and both on Instagram. It was not good. It was not good. But sloppy seconds. Listen, I don't even know if that's sloppy seconds. That's like
that's sloppy Joe's straight from the cafeteria,
served by a nasty old lunch lady.
That shit, Just flopped on the
Bro,
plate.
listen, when OnlyFans permanently bans you, you're a fucking degenerate whore.
Yeah, she's on Fansly now. They tried to limit her things. It was a whole thing. They restructured their whole entire terms and services just because of her, pretty much. Now anybody that's ever on that site has to be a registered creator. Like even people you do stuff with has to be a registered creator. Nobody can just do content because she was doing so much content with randos, and they're like, yeah, it's not happening. So they cracked down.
That's wild, bro. I got to get my kids to bed, fellas. Again, Lewis,
yeah,
I appreciate you, man.
I need to get off of this topic. So
You need to get what?
I need to get off this topic.
There ain't much to get off on. I mean, they didn't leave much to fucking wonder, bro.
Nope. Documentary was the most unsatisfied I was watching porno material.
About like 766 guy. Not as unsatisfying as him. He's in there like, do you feel me?
Yeah.
Took a blue to 100,000th in line, and then finally gets to the end and needs to pop another one.
Listen, I get, dude. It's like her first month in that business was like that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean with Davy Jones, like 99 souls, 3 days.
All right, family. I love you guys. I'm out.
Love you too. We're out of here on a vile note.